Chapter 1225, Protector Shui moves. Jian Chen shook his head with a bitter face. He could not let anything happen to his second aunt. Even if she ended up nursing grievances against him, he would not let her through. With his current strength, he could only manage to get 10 meters away from Changyang Mingyue. If it were Yu Fengyan, she probably would have been reduced to a frozen sculpture before she even reached 20 meters away. "Mother, don't come over. You can't come over." Changyang Mingyue loudly sobbed as tears ran down her face. She was extremely sorrowful as she backed off step by step, moving further and further away from Yu Fengyan. After parting for almost 10 years, the two of them had finally met again in this land of ice and snow, but they could only look at each other from 100 meters away. This was extremely painful to both of them. In the end, the two of them began asking about each other from 100 meters away. All their thoughts throughout the years poured out like a flood. Unknowingly, the two of them had already talked for most of the day, but the sky did not show any changes at all, as if night did not exist in this land. "Your Majesty, you should return now. Your profound ice body has yet to fully mature, so you can't leave the Divine Hall for too long." At this moment, an emotionless voice suddenly rang out. Protector Shui finally spoke while she stood on the Divine Hall. Jian Chen, Rui Jin, Hong Lian, and He Yu were all startled inside by the voice. They looked to the place where the voice originated from. Only at that moment did they realize that there was another person standing high up, fully clad in armor. Rui Jin, Hong Lian, and He Yu narrowed their eyes the moment they saw her while their hearts wildly churned inside. This was because all three of them felt tricked at the same time. The protector had definitely been there before they had even arrived. She did not conceal herself and had instead casually stood there, yet they had failed to notice her. The three of them also understood that if she did not speak, they would never have discovered her existence. Rui Jin, Hong Lian, and He Yu looked at each other as their complexions became horrible. Not only were they unable to see through her strength, they could not even sense her presence, as if she was just thin air. They could only see her with their eyes. Surpassed Saint Emperor. At this moment, the same thought appeared in all their heads. They had fought against Saint Emperors more than once, so they obviously had an extremely good understanding of experts at that level, yet Protector Shui's existence was completely different. They had never witnessed her fight, nor did they know her strength, but they were extremely certain that she was definitely a supreme existence that had surpassed Saint Emperor. The three of them were utterly astounded by the fact that there were still existences that had surpassed Saint Emperor in this age that lacked Saint Emperors. Changyang Mingyue looked at Jian Chen and Yu Fengyan, reluctant to leave. She said, "Mother, brother, I will return. Don't worry, mother, once my profound ice body matures, I'll definitely visit home." Yu Fengyan felt a stabbing pain inside now that she was about to part with her beloved daughter. She looked at Changyang Mingyue's face in reluctance as tears rolled down her face. "Brother, if you ever come across anything you can't deal with in the future, come look for me. No matter what it is, I can solve it for you. I heard from Protector Shui that you've already become very powerful and are now a Saint King, but don't look down on me. I'm also a Saint King and at the 9th heavenly layer. You're not my opponent right now." Changyang Mingyue faintly smiled with that. It seemed a little like she was boasting. "What? You're a 9th heavenly layer Saint King now?" Jian Chen was shocked and disbelief was plastered across his face. Rui Jin, Hong Lian, and He Yu became astounded as well. "Remember to come visit me in a year's time. I have a gift for you. Also, these icy plains are the territory of Protector Shui. She'll know every single thing that happens here. I've ordered her to bring you over as long as you are standing on the icy plains." With that, Changyang Mingyue disappeared inside the Divine Hall. "Mingyue, I'll be waiting for you to return home. Cultivate well," Yu Fengyan called out when the door had closed. "Aunt, sister is very well here. She'll return without much longer." Don't be so sorrowful, Jian Chen comforted. Yu Fengyan clearly understood that it was a great fortune for Changyang Mingyue to stay in this icy land, so she calmed down very quickly. All the worry and anxiety in her heart was rapidly vanishing without her knowing after personally seeing that Changyang Mingyue was well. Some light returned to her eyes and her mood took a drastic turn for the better. Jian Chen looked toward Protector Shui and clasped his hands. Senior, there is still one matter that confuses me. May I ask why my sister has become the Holy Maiden? Please enlighten me. Jian Chen was extremely curiously as to why Changyang Mingyue had become the Holy Maiden of the Ice Goddess Hall. However, he also knew that probably even Changyang Mingyue had no idea how to answer the question, which was why he asked Protector Shui. He had already learned from Changyang Mingyue that she was the most powerful person in the Ice Goddess Hall. Her strength was unfathomable. She stood supreme in the organization with everyone else working beneath her. You have no right to know about matters concerning Her Majesty. If it weren't for the fact that you were siblings with Her Majesty, you lot would have frozen to death on the icy plains long ago. How would you still have been able to make it here? Protector Shui's voice was extremely cold, as if she was completely emotionless. Shortly afterward, she turned to Rui Jin, Hong Lian, and He Yu. She looked at them like ants and said, "Tell me, where did you obtain the saint artifacts that contain a sliver of origin energy?" The three of them looked at each other and they felt an ill omen. They hesitated slightly but still ended up responding, "They were given to us by the ancient winged tiger god." "The winged tiger god," mumbled Protector Shui. She said, "So it really was that beast. I never thought he'd be far more complicated than I had imagined, actually able to deliver saint artifacts here without me noticing." Protector Shui fell silent for some time. She pondered for a while before continuing, "The saint artifacts on the three of you shouldn't have appeared in this world. Seeing how you're related to Her Majesty, I won't make things difficult for you. Hand over the saint artifacts, and I'll destroy them." The three of them changed in expression with that. The sacred dragon's armor and the sacred dragon's sword were clan treasures of the dragon clan, while the 9 refined godfire feathermail and scorching godfire hairpin were clan treasures of the scorching divine phoenix clan. These items held significant value to them, so how could they just hand them over? "Senior, you say you want to destroy the clan treasures of the dragon clan and phoenix clan as soon as you start talking. Aren't you going overboard?" Jian Chen was furious as well. He spoke with a dark expression. "Correct. The treasures are even more important than our lives. It's impossible if you want us to hand them over so you can destroy them," Rui Jin angrily replied. Even though he knew that Protector Shui was someone who had surpassed Saint Emperor, he still showed no fear. "The only way for you to destroy the clan treasures of the Phoenix clan is by stepping over my dead body," Hong Lian spoke firmly as well. Her eyes burned with red light since she was furious as well. "I would obviously do nothing if your clan treasures were still how they were originally, but now, they've stopped being the same. They're saint artifacts that don't belong to this world, so I will obviously destroy them. I'll let the three of you choose. Hand them over to me and I'll let you leave without a single scratch, or stay here with the saint artifacts," said Protector Shui slowly. "Humph, you've said in such a firm manner that Senior Rui Jin and Hong Lian's clan treasures were no longer the same as before. Have you personally seen the treasures before?" Jian Chen coldly asked, but he was extremely nervous inside. Rui Jin and Hong Lian became extremely ugly. They both had inherited memories, so they obviously understood the treasures very well. They understood that they were indeed very indifferent from how they were before. They had already discovered this the moment they had obtained them. He Yu could not help but draw his origin energy machete, and a layer of armor appeared on his at the same time. He furiously said, "I don't care who you are, but it's impossible if you want to destroy our origin energy treasures. So what if you've surpassed Saint Emperor? I'd like to see just how powerful these sovereign-like existences are." A vast presence erupted from Yu as he poured surging energy into his machete, allowing it to glow bright. Powerful blade chi filled the surroundings. Yu knew that Protector Shui was extremely powerful, having surpassed Saint Emperor, so he used all his strength. Protector Shui looked at Yu coldly and in disdain. She did nothing, but the next moment, a layer of clear ice crystals quickly spread up from his feet. The crystals of ice moved extremely quickly, coating his entire body in the blink of an eye. Equipped with both the Origin Energy armor and weapon, Yu had been frozen into a statue of ice before he could even deal a single attack. Chapter 1226. Trapped at the Ice Goddess Hall. Rui Jin and Hong Lian were immediately shocked and they saw Yu freeze into a statue in the blink of an eye. Yu was protected by the Origin Energy armor and possessed an Origin Energy weapon for offense. He could even stand against Saint Emperors without suffered defeat, yet he was so fragile before Protector Shui, having frozen without being able to resist at all. They had finally witnessed the terror of someone who had surpassed Saint Emperor. Jian Chen and Nubis stared at the frozen Yu in shock as well while their hearts churned inside. Yu Fengyan could also tell that the three of them had fallen out with Protector Shui. She immediately became nervous. She knew that they had helped her quite a lot for her to stand here today, so she was obviously extremely unwilling for anything to happen to them. In her opinion, the reason why the three of them had traveled so far to come to the Ice Goddess Hall was related to her. If the three of them were in trouble because of her, she would be filled with remorse. Senior, is it possible to let Senior Rui Jin, Hong Lian, and Yu go on Mingyue's behalf? Yu Fengyan called out. She really did not wish to see the three of them remain trapped here because of her. Protector Shui's eyes were cold and completely emotionless, like ice that would never melt. Although she had heard Yu Fengyan's request, she did nothing. She did not even glance at her, completely ignoring her. In reality, Yu Fengyan definitely would not have been able to stand there unharmed if it were not for the fact that she was the mother of the Holy Maiden. Are you going to have your saint artifacts destroyed, or will you be staying here forever? Protector Shui coldly asked Rui Jin and Hong Lian. Even if I know we're not your opponent, we'll never hand over the clan treasures. The only way for you to destroy them is by doing it over my dead body, Rui Jin coldly replied before beginning to glow all over with golden light. The dazzling light of the sacred dragon's armor and sword covered his body as terrifying ripples of energy pulsed around him. A packed layer of golden dragon scales quickly appeared as well, enveloping his entire body. Even his hands turned into huge dragon claws. At the same time, fire surged into the sky beside him. With a clear phoenix's cry, Hong Lian turned into a giant phoenix that was several dozen meters long and surrounded by roaring flames. The 9 refined Godfire feather mail covered her body as the scorching Godfire hairpin hovered above her head. The flames around her rapidly turned to a pure white, radiating with terrifying heat. Nubis, Ant, you two enter the artifact space first. When Rui Jin and Hong Lian transformed, Jian Chen did not stand around either. He sent the two of them into the artifact space as soon as he could. A deafening roar and a clear cry rang out at the same time. Rui Jin and Hong Lian moved at the same time, dealing a full-powered attack together. The sacred dragon's sword glowed with dazzling light as it was swung toward Protector Shui with a shocking might. The scorching Godfire hairpin was surrounded by scorching white flames. It radiated with heat that was even more terrifying than the sun while it shot at Protector Shui with unbelievable speed as a white streak of light. Wherever it passed, the air became filled with a burnt smell. It seemed to be incinerating air. Looks like you've already made your choices. Very well. Protector Shui coldly said. A gleam of light flashed through her eyes and the sword and hairpin came to a halt. An invisible barrier seemed to have stopped them in their paths. They could not travel any further no matter how terrifying they were. The next moment, a layer of ice crystals appeared on the two weapons. The sharp presence of the sword and the terrifying white flames of the hairpin were unable to stop the rapid expansion of the ice. Wherever the crystals formed, froze the sword chi in place and they instantly extinguished the white flames. In the blink of an eye, the invincible weapons were frozen in the air by a thin layer of frost. Shock was spelled across Ruo Jin and Hong Lian's faces. The next moment, their faces suddenly hardened. The moment had become eternal as a thin layer of frost silently appeared on them as well. The ice crystals engulfed them before they could even react, turning them into ice statues. Although the layer of ice was thin, it possessed unbelievable might. Not only did it freeze them, an extremely cold stream invaded their bodies as well, freezing their energy and their souls. At that moment, Ruo Jin, Hong Lian, and He Yu had all fallen unconscious. To them, time seemed to have stopped. "Senior!" Jian Chen furiously shouted. He arrived beside Ruo Jin and constantly threw punches at the ice. Each fist possessed all his strength as he attempted to free Ruo Jin by smashing the frost. However, the crystals were extraordinarily tough despite how thin they were. Jian Chen's fists, which could easily destroy entire mountains, only produced faint thuds as they struck the ice. He could not even leave a mark on the ice, let alone smash through it. Jian Chen drew his emperor armament after seeing how his punches were useless. He stabbed out with everything he had. Ding! As the sharp sword tip struck the ice crystals, the sword resonated at a clear frequency. His attack had basically reached the level of peak 7th heavenly layer Saint Kings, yet they were still unable to leave a single mark on the ice. Jian Chen did not give up. He roared at the sky as his hair and clothes fluttered from his aura. He swung the emperor armament at the ice that trapped Ruo Jin, which rang out every single time he struck it. All his attacks contained everything he had, but the layer of frost remained unscathed despite wildly swinging the sword several hundred times. He still failed to leave behind a mark. Protector Shui stood unmoving on top of the divine hall like an ice sculpture. She coldly stared at Jian Chen and said, "Go. You can't break through my extreme ice lock. You can't even if you're a saint emperor." Jian Chen knew that he could not break through the thin layer of frost, so he stopped his pointless actions. He turned toward Protector Shui and said, "Senior, you've already frozen up the clan treasures. Can't you let the 3 seniors go? I am already acting on behalf of the Holy Maiden for letting you leave unharmed, yet you want to bicker with me?" Her eyes became much sharper now as heavy killing intent lingered with her words. With a wave of her hand, Jian Chen suddenly disappeared from the icy plains. Jian Chen only felt like he had been trapped by an invisible force. The force was extremely great, so great that he actually felt like he was facing something as vast as the universe. He felt as weak as an ant before the force, lacking any power to resist at all. The thought of resisting had not even crossed his mind. Oh no! Is the protector going to do something to me? Jian Chen's heart sank. However, as soon as he thought that, he felt his body lighten. The invisible force had suddenly disappeared, which was then followed by a wave of heat sweeping over him. The world of ice had vanished. He now stood in a desolate region of land. Jian Chen knew that he had returned to the Tianyuan continent, but he could not brighten up no matter what, because Ruo Jin, Hong Lian and He Yu remained trapped on the icy plains of the north. They had not returned with him. Suddenly, Jian Chen shot into the sky toward the clouds. He hovered in the air as he pulled out a map, quickly finding his bearings. He discovered that he was not very far away from the sea that separated the Arctic from the continent. With a thought, a golden streak of light immediately flew out of area between his eyebrows. It turned into a fist-sized golden tower that hovered in the air. Artifact Spirit, find a place to hide with my aunt and newbies. I'll be going to the Ice Goddess Hall again. If I don't return in 7 days, get newbies to take you to the Changyang clan in Lore City, Jian Chen said to the Golden Tower. Receiving an order, the golden tower immediately transformed into a golden streak of light and disappeared into the ground. Jian Chen traveled toward the Arctic once more all by himself. A day later, Jian Chen crossed the vast seas and landed on the icy plains again. He used the illusory flash as he hurried to the depths of the icy plains as a blur. When Jian Chen had traveled less than 10 kilometers, a terrifying stream of coldness seemed to have descended on him. The temperature there seemed to have plummeted suddenly and a layer of frost quickly formed on Jian Chen. Jian Chen knew that it might have been a warning from Protector Shui, but he was not afraid at all. He continued on at the same speed, circulating his chaotic force as fast as he could to resist the terrifying temperature. Jian Chen could not allow Rui Jin, Hong Lian, and He Yu to remain trapped on the icy plains because of him. He knew his only chance at saving them was through his sister, so his intentions were very simple. He wanted to approach the ice goddess hall to alert his sister. More and more crystals formed on Jian Chen as his movements slowed down as well. The bone-chilling coldness constantly attempted to invade his body and freeze all signs of life within him, but it was obstructed by the tenacious chaotic force. "If you don't back out of the plains right now, you'll end up the same as the three of them," an icy cold and hazy voice rang through Jian Chen's head. "Senior, please let them go, or I will never stop," Jian Chen replied. However, right when he said that, an extremely terrifying coldness engulfed him. Even his chaotic body was unable to stop it for a moment. He was instantly frozen into a lifelike sculpture and was completely immobilized. Jian Chen lost control over his body even as he devoted all his efforts to controlling the chaotic force to ward off the invading coldness, but the chaotic force was frozen as soon as it came in contact with the presence. He lost control over it. Jian Chen was astounded, but he was unable to stop the advance of the coldness no matter how hard he tried. It quickly spread through his body, freezing up his blood, his flesh, and all signs of life within him. Even his chaotic Niden in his dantian was frozen. At the same time, the coldness quickly spread toward his head in attempt to freeze his soul. However, Jian Chen's sea of consciousness suddenly began to glow with an azure and violet light. It glowed with a brightness that was comparable to the morning sun as soon as the coldness neared his head. The dazzling light illuminated his entire sea of consciousness. Chapter 12:27 The Sea Goddess knew the azure and violet light engulfed Jian Chen's sea of consciousness, protecting it at the same time. As soon as the terrifying coldness came in contact with the lights, it came to a halt, no longer able to advance any further. "What coldness? Master, where have you come? Why is there such great coldness where even your chaotic Niden has been frozen?" Zi Ying's voice rang out in Jian Chen's head in shock. Not only did Jian Chen lose control over his body, he had also lost all of his senses. The moment the sword spirits began protecting his soul, his consciousness had entered his sea of consciousness without choice. A five-colored crystal hovered within the sea of consciousness. It was the multicolored stone Jian Chen had come across by accident and purchased in Walorant City back then. During these past years, the sword spirits had been absorbing the pure energy within it, and thus, the stone was smaller than before. An azure and violet light rotated around the stone. The two lights seemed to be connected with one another but not, at the same time. It seemed as if a certain distance was always maintained. They were the original forms of the sword spirits, but they were deeper in color than before. Jian Chen knew that they had become much more powerful after absorbing the stone and recovering. Although the sword spirits were recovering in Jian Chen's sea of consciousness, they clearly did not pay attention to everything, so they didn't know that Jian Chen had come across the ice goddess hall. Jian Chen explained everything he had gone through at the ice goddess hall in full detail, immediately causing the sword spirits to fall into a temporary silence. Only a while later did Ziying sternly say, "Qing Sua and I once felt someone secretly observing us through their presence, but we were far too weak back then so we could not find where that person was hiding. But now, it looks like that person is Protector Shui. Master, this Protector Shui is extremely powerful. She shouldn't be a person of this world, and you're completely helpless against her with your current strength. You mustn't go out of your way to provoke her. Are you saying that she's the same as me, from another world? Jian Chen questioned in surprise. Correct, that's indeed the case. However, the only difference is that Master came from the bottom while she came from the top. She's extremely powerful, but her strength suffers the restrictions of the world, so she can't act freely, much less break the balance here, or she'll be punished by the world. As long as you don't provoke her, you should be fine, said Ziying. Jian Chen's heart sank. He had never thought that Protector Shui would possess such great origins where she was an expert from a higher world. In other words, he was unable to save Rui Jin, Hong Lian, and He Yu anytime soon. It would even be impossible for him to see his sister if the Protector obstructed them intentionally. Although the sword spirits had said that the Protector could not act freely, it meant that she could not do things without reason. Rui Jin, Hong Lian, and He Yu's origin energy treasures had been described by her as saint artifacts that should not have appeared in this world. This was more than enough of a reason for her to act against the three of them. Master, Ziying and I have not fully recovered yet, so we're not Protector Shui's opponent at the moment. However, we can nullify the coldness in your body. You can break free in a while as long as you cooperate, and you must immediately leave the icy plains as quickly as possible. Otherwise, the coldness will be increased by several levels the next time Protector Shui moves, and will be helpless against it at that time, Ziying sternly explained. I understand. Ziying, Qing Sua, let's start, said Jian Chen. The two balls of light in Jian Chen's sea of consciousness began to glow brighter and brighter. They shot out from his sea of consciousness like swords while the two balls of light revolved around each other. However, they avoided contact as they shot toward Jian Chen's dantian with lightning-like speed. The two balls of light were like a miniature sun. All of the coldness that they came in contact with along the way melted away. The lights arrived at Jian Chen's dantian and the frost around his chaotic Niden rapidly dispersed, allowing Jian Chen to regain control over his chaotic Niden. Jian Chen immediately made his chaotic Niden to spit out strands of chaotic force without requiring a warning from the sword spirits. The chaotic force then worked with the power of the sword spirits as it swam through his body, rapidly cleansing the coldness. A few seconds later, a great bang suddenly rang through the icy plains. Jian Chen broke free from the thin layer of frost on him, and without any hesitation, he immediately shot into the sky, flying away as a blur. He left the icy plains as quickly as he could. Master, we've used a lot of energy. We'll have to sleep for some time. We'll only awaken if Master faces fatal danger or if heavenly resources that pique our interest appear. Ziying's voice was slightly weak, and he made no more sounds after that. Jian Chen entered his sea of consciousness again, and indeed, he found the sword spirits to have darkened. Clearly, they had expended a lot of energy to purge the coldness. Back at the Ice Goddess Hall, Protector Shui was still standing where she had been before. She had not moved at all, so she stood there like an ice sculpture as she contemplated things. Suddenly, a gleam of light flashed through her eyes. She glanced in the direction of Jian Chen before losing interest again. Her cold eyes swept past Rui Jin, Hong Lian, and He Yu's origin energy treasures as if she was deep in thought. Suddenly, her cold eyes erupted with a dazzling light. Immediately, the surrounding temperature plummeted and became even colder than ancient ice caverns. She slowly clenched her fist as destructive energy condensed around her hand. She coldly said, I understand. I finally understand. No wonder I always felt like something was wrong with you as I surveyed you with my presence. So you had discovered me long ago, and you had purposefully acted like that to fool me. Impressive. Very impressive. What an impressive Mo Tianyun. What an impressive winged tiger god, her voice became colder and colder, chillier and chillier as her fury became stronger and stronger. She suddenly looked in the direction of the Tianyuan continent. A huge, stone statue was reflected in her cold pupils. It was the sculpture that stood in the center of Mercenary City. The next moment, the sculpture disappeared from her eyes and was replaced by a huge divine hall that stood 99 floors high. It was the supreme divine hall of the Beast God continent, the Beast God Hall. Just who are you, Winged Tiger God and Mo Tianyun? To even trick this king, Protector Shui gritted her teeth. She felt like she had been fooled by the Winged Tiger God and Mo Tianyun. This was utterly shameful to her, an embarrassment that could never be washed away. Protector Shui suddenly swung out and 3 finger-like arrows of ice condensed out of nowhere. They immediately shot toward the 3 origin energy weapons that had been frozen, and with 3 crisp sounds, the sacred dragon sword, the scorching god fire hairpin, and Hei Yu's machete were split in half, falling onto the frozen ground with a clatter. Jian Chen found the saint artifact and returned to the Changyang clan in Lore City in a rather dispirited fashion. He locked himself in his room and did not take a single step out. After returning from the Ice Goddess Hall, Yu Fengyan's mood took a great turn for the better. Her face was full of life within the next few days while the worry on her face had disappeared. Her haggard face improved with each coming day. Jian Chen remained in his room for the next few days, and no one came to disturb him. He currently sat on his bed with a dull, high-class monster core in his hand as he worked hard to absorb the energy inside. The monster core originated from within the artifact space. It had already existed for several tens of thousands of years. After being eaten away by time, it could not even be called a monster core, but something that was between a rock and a monster core. Not only had most of the energy leak away, any residue left had basically solidified, making absorption extremely difficult. After feeling just how helpless he was when Rui Jin, Hong Lian, and Hei Yu had been trapped, it stimulated his desire to become powerful. He locked himself up to cultivate as soon as he had returned to the clan. Jian Chen did not touch the monster cores in his space ring. They all originated from the Heaven's Incense School. After giving Bai Lian and Xiao Bao a lot of them, he did not have much left, and even if he absorbed all of them, he would not be able to reach the 4th layer of his chaotic body. He could only forcefully absorb the large pile of monster cores in the Saint artifact since his cultivation method was special and he was in possession of the chaotic body. If it were someone else, even Saint Kings, they would not be able to absorb the energy that had almost solidified, which was why Jian Chen decided to refine these monster cores first. He also understood that even if he refined all the monster cores in the artifact space as well as the ones in his space ring, it would still not be enough to elevate him to the 4th layer. However, it could strengthen his chaotic Niden at the very least. With each layer of the chaotic body, the energy needed to progress to the next was at least several times more than the previous stage, even 10 times more. The resources required to progress from the 3rd layer to the 4th layer were unimaginable. In the blink of an eye, Jian Chen had already been in seclusion for several days. He had refined many monster cores in those days, but the effects were basically non-existent. His chaotic Niden was still the same size. It had not changed at all. Jian Chen could not even feel it grow. Jian Chen, the worldly ebb is about to happen. It will erupt in the next few days, so make your preparations and come to the sea realm as soon as possible. At this moment, the sea goddess' obscure voice rang through his head. It was extremely gentle and pleasant. Jian Chen immediately stopped cultivating. He slowly opened his eyes. Just hard work was not enough to make his chaotic body reach another level. He required luck. Chapter 1228, Changyang Hu's Transformation. It's about time I complete my promise to the sea goddess, but I never thought that the day of the worldly ebb would have approached so quickly, Jian Chen mumbled to himself. He was not surprised by the fact that the sea goddess could find him with great precision. Although she had already lost her fleshy body, her soul was even more powerful than in ancient times. She could easily engulf the entire Tian-Yuan continent or the Beast God continent. Jian Chen got off the bed. He had no idea how much time he would spend in the sea realm after leaving, so he needed to sort some things out beforehand. This included dealing with the flame mercenaries. They risked suffering the revenge of those from the underworld sect who had managed to escape. Ahu! Ahu, don't go. Don't leave your mother. You're my only son. I can't be without you. Ahu! Just when Jian Chen opened the door, his first aunt's sorrowful voice rang out from afar. Jian Chen was stunned, but he seemed to think of something soon. His expression immediately changed a little as he ran over. From afar, Jian Chen could see his eldest brother hovering 10 meters in the air with his white robes. He did not give off any rippling of energy and was not hovering in the air like a heaven saint master. At the same time, Jian Chen did not sense the saint's ruler's abilities from him. Changyang Hu was levitating in the air through a method that Jian Chen did not know or understand. There was an indescribably and unexplainable charm about Changyang Hu, making him seem otherworldly, as if he was a transcended immortal. It was a divine charm. Below, Ling Long looked at him with her head raised. Tears constantly poured from her eyes since she was in utter sorrow. She sobbed as she pleaded with him. A group of guards had already surged over, and even Yu Fengyan, Bai Yushuang, Bai Yuntian, and Changyang Ba had hurried over. All of them looked at Changyang Hu in unease. Jian Chen's heart sank. He knew that the exact thing that he did not want to happen had finally happened. He took a step and instantly traversed over 100 meters, arriving before Changyang Hu. Brother! Looking at Changyang Hu's emotionless face, Jian Chen could not help but call out in worry, as if he was trying to awaken Changyang Hu. Changyang Hu was very calm. His gaze was extremely bright at times, clear and transparent like two luminous pearls, which were filled with wisdom and willpower, yet at other times, it was dark, profound like the starry sky. It seemed to contain a whole different world inside, everything in fact. It was extremely profound and difficult to explain. Brother, I will be leaving, Changyang Hu said to Jian Chen as he calmly looked at him. He bore a smile. When he said brother, it had become indifferent, having lost its sincerity long ago. At that moment, Jian Chen felt like his brother had become a different person. He was so strange that Jian Chen could not find any familiarity at all. All the times that he had spent with him in Kargath Academy flashed through Jian Chen's head like a movie, making his heart ache. He had realized that his brother had severed his kinship, which was why he had become so unfamiliar. The brother in his memories had ceased to exist. From that day on, his close brother only lived in his memories. Brother, have you really severed your kinship? Are you really willing to see First Aunt in so much pain? Jian Chen's voice slightly trembled. He still wanted to see if he could turn Changyang Hu back. Changyang Hu remained smiling throughout the exchange. His expression did not change at all with what Jian Chen said. He looked into the distant space with his profound eyes and said, "The world is emotionless. We were born from the world, and we follow the path provided by the world to comprehend it. The impurities of worldly affairs are like strands of a demonic presence, obscuring the wisdom of people and misleading their hearts. Only by transcending worldly affairs can one regain their original awareness, and thus, see through all the mysteries of the world. The life of a mortal is like a dream. When a person is born, the dream begins. When they die, the dream ends. Everything that happens in the dream seems real and fake, but it will all be reduced to a void in the end. The dream seems fake so it cannot be real, and it seems real but it is not real. These are the so-called emotions and desires. They are illusory, and only by abandoning the worldly affairs can you return to your original conscience. Only by understanding the truth and severing the false can you be at peace, stand true to fate, see through the mysteries of the world, and witnessed the supreme all. With that, Changyang Hu drifted away. He moved away extremely freely, without any reluctance. Jian Chen fell silent. He hovered in the sky as he watched Changyang Hu gradually grow further away. His heart ached. He knew that Changyang Hu had completely severed everything. The current him probably no longer maintained any connections of family. He was only an unchanging spirit to comprehend the world. He had embarked on a different path. Jian Chen became rather depressed at that moment. He was in a horrible mood. He had just lost Rui Jin, Hong Lian, and He Yu, and now he had lost the brother he respected the most. Although he had the ability to make his brother forcefully stay, he did not do that. He knew that all of it would result in nothing. Changyang Hu's path had already been determined and could no longer be changed. Ahu, Ling Long's heart shattered like glass after Changyang Hu's straightforward departure. She cried out in sorrow before fainting. First madam, several female servants paled in fright as they hurried up to catch her. Take her back to her room to rest, Changyang Ba said in dejection as well. His mood was extremely heavy. Jian Chen stared in the direction Changyang Hu had disappeared in for quite some time before deeply sighing. He returned to the ground in low spirits. Xiang'er, come here, Bai Yuntian arrived beside Jian Chen and grabbed his arm. After witnessing what had happened with Changyang Hu, Bai Yuntian became rather scared inside. She was afraid that she would lose her child just like Ling Long. Xiang'er, can you tell your father what happened to your brother? Changyang Ba asked in pain. He could sense that his first son had probably become a thing of the past. Jian Chen thought silently before he replied, brother's chosen a path that's suitable for him. He's embarked on a unique cultivation path. I have no idea what will happen in the future. A white-robed person stood on a tree branch as he watched Changyang Hu walk away from Lore City. He mumbled, looks like Changyang Hu has gotten past the final stage. His great liberation is complete. He has finally reached this step. Jian Chen delayed his journey to the Sea Realm by a day due to what had happened with Changyang Hu. On the next day, he visited the Flame Mercenaries to sort out some matters before properly comforting Bai Yuntian. He promised that he would return after dealing with his matters. He then set off for the Sea Realm with newbies. Emerging from a space gate, Jian Chen and newbies hovered above the vast sea. They felt the calmness of the sea as well as the gentle sea breeze. A comfortable, easy feeling immediately bloomed within Jian Chen, pushing away all the unhappiness from his brother's departure the day before. With the sea goddess' assistance, Jian Chen and newbies passed through the barrier without any obstructions. At the same time, the sea goddess' voice rang in their heads, the worldly ebb will be erupting soon. I will keep paying close attention to the situation, so spend a few days in the Sea Realm and wait for my news. Yes, Your Majesty, Jian Chen politely replied. Hesitating slightly, he then said to the empty space, Your Majesty, I have something that I would like to inquire about. May I ask if you know about Protector Shui of the Ice Goddess Hall? Jian Chen knew that the sea goddess basically existed everywhere, so she definitely would have heard what he said. An illusionary, hazy woman silently appeared before him right after he finished speaking. She sternly asked, Why are you asking about the Ice Goddess Hall? Do you want to visit that place? Before Jian Chen could reply, she followed up with, I've never heard of a Protector Shui of the Ice Goddess Hall, but the Ice Goddess Hall is an extremely terrifying place. From the ancient times till now, countless saint emperors have entered those icy plains, but less than a tenth have returned alive. I once tried to investigate the depths of the icy plains using my soul, but as soon as my soul approached that place, it would be frozen by an extremely terrifying coldness. It would even use my soul as a guide and quickly travel toward the Sea Realm. If I had not pulled back my soul fast enough, the outcome would have been unthinkable. The sea goddess' voice was filled with a lingering fear. It was evident just how terrifying that area was for the sea goddess, who belonged to the origin realm. Afterward, the winged tiger god gave me the Empyrean demon orb and also warned me to never investigate the place no matter what unless the icy plains disappear from the Arctic. That was why I never looked into that area again. The sea goddess' voice was filled with some mixed emotions. Her soul was extremely powerful. Not only could it engulf the entire sea realm, she could extend it as she wished into the Tian Yuan continent, the beast god continent, and even the wasteland continent. Without any exaggeration, her soul could move freely throughout the entire world. There was nothing that could threaten her, including the most dangerous place on the Tian Yuan continent, the Death Nest, except for the Ice Goddess Hall, a region forbidden for her to enter. Your Majesty, then may I inquire when the Ice Goddess Hall appeared? Jian Chen asked again. The sea goddess was a sovereign-like figure of the same era as Mo Tianyun. She knew many more secrets than saint emperors. The Ice Goddess Hall seemed to have always existed. No one knows when it first appeared, but the people of the organization rarely ever visit the Tian Yuan continent. Every time they appear, they visit the continent in search of disciples, and they handle everything with an extremely low profile, said the sea goddess. She did not know the answer to Jian Chen's question either. At this moment, Jian Chen thought about how the sword spirits had described Protector Shui as someone who had come down from above. In that case, did it mean that the organization was founded by Protector Shui? Jian Chen asked again after thinking up to that point, Your Majesty, if you surpass Saint Emperor, is it possible to live for more than 1,000,000 years? The sea goddess shook her head. Beyond Saint Emperor is the Origin Realm. It has 3 subdivisions, which are Receival, Returnance, and Reciprocity. With my understanding, those of the Origin Realm can only live for 100,000 years, and even people who have reached Reciprocity cannot live longer than 200,000 years after ingesting various heavenly resources to extend their life. Perhaps only cultivation realms beyond that will allow you to live longer. Of course, if there is any heaven-defying treasures, you may be able to live for 1,000,000 years or even longer. However, even if that's the case, they'll end up the same as me, only able to maintain a soul while the body will be gone. At the same time, the soul will not be able to separate itself from the treasure that protects it. Jian Chen became extremely depressed. He had already guessed that Protector Shui probably had already surpassed the Origin Realm, having reached an even greater level. He could not become happy over this no matter what, as the stronger Protector Shui was, the more unlikely he would be able to save Rui Jin and the others. Chapter 1229, Sudden Changes of the Turtle Clan. The only place Jian Chen could temporarily stay in the Sea Realm was the Turtle Clan, so after his conversation with the Sea Goddess, he headed to the Turtle Clan's territory with newbies. The space within the Sea Realm was much tougher than outside. Saint Kings could not rip open the space there to create space gates, so Jian Chen and newbies could only fly to the Turtle Clan. It's said that the barrier around the Sea Realm can prevent the entry of foreign Saint Kings, yet I've entered the Sea Realm as a foreign Saint King without any difficulty at all. Probably only the 2 of us can enjoy such a great treatment. Newbies could not help but laugh freely as they flew. Oh right, Jian Chen, that big fellow is still cultivating in the artifact space. He doesn't seem to have come to the Sea Realm before, so you might as well let him out to have a look, said newbies again. Jian Chen immediately thought of Tai Ta, who had always been cultivating within the artifact space. Hesitating slightly, he still ended up calling him out. With a flash of golden light, Tai Ta's burly body appeared by Jian Chen's side. His skin carried a faint, golden luster as a gentle, golden light shone from his body. It seemed like his skin was made from gold. Since Tai Ta's identity was just far too sensitive on the Tian Yuan continent, Jian Chen never dared to let him appear in front of others. After all, the war god of the 100 races had provoked the beast god continent and the Tian Yuan continent in ancient times. As soon as the news that the war god had returned made its way out, he would not be able to keep Tai Ta safe with his current strength. However, the Sea Realm was different. In ancient times, only the sea race did not participate in the war, so they did not have any enmity with the war god. To the various experts of the sea realm, perhaps the appearance of the war god would have nothing to do with them, much less lead to any conflicts of interest. Exactly because of that, Jianchen allowed Tai Ta to appear in the sea realm in such a bold fashion without any worry. This was the first time Tai Ta had come to the sea realm, so he constantly looked around as soon as he appeared outside the artifact space. He was extremely curious about everything, so he asked Jianchen and Nubis about everything. Jianchen and Nubis explained everything to Tai Ta as they traveled. They shared everything they knew with him without hiding anything. The three of them maintained a straight course as they flew to where the turtle clan was. They flew over many large clans, which caused many experts to come up to stop them. However, since they let their presences radiate out without holding back, the aggressive experts immediately became bright red. They would politely clasp their hands to the three of them before obediently backing off. After flying for several hours, the three of them finally arrived at the turtle clan. However, what they saw was not a prosperous clan, but a battleground dyed with blood. Blood had pooled into small streams with many corpses strewn across the ground. Not only were there members of the turtle clan, there were other people as well, but all of the other people wore the same attire. It was possible to tell with a single glance that they belonged to the same organization. Meanwhile, the many, grand structures of the clan had been reduced to ruins by the battle as well. Bloody marks were present everywhere. 200-meter-wide pits had been dug far away. Between the ruins of the clan, several dozen people in the same attire worked arduously as they moved the corpses. They moved all the corpses into the two large pits to bury them. Hundreds, possibly even thousands, of dead people were already stacked inside. Jianchen and Nubis, who had just arrived, revealed a drastically different expression when they saw this. Only Tai Ta, who was clueless, remained composed as he observed the ruined territory of the turtle clan. Jianchen hovered several hundred meters in the air as he stared blankly at the horrifying landscape. His face was filled with shock and disbelief. He had even begun to doubt his eyes at that moment. Suddenly, fury surged in Jianchen's heart. Great killing intent radiated from him without control, causing the surrounding temperature to plummet, as if it had turned into an ice cavern. Jianchen suddenly vanished from the air. By the time he had appeared, he had already traversed 1,000 meters, arriving beside a middle-aged man who was moving corpses. He grabbed the man by the clothes on his chest and loudly demanded, "What's happened to the turtle clan? Speak." The middle-aged man was only an Earth Saint Master, so Jianchen's vast presence and icy cold killing intent pressed against his chest like a mountain, making breathing difficult for him. He had almost suffocated, and he instantly paled. The middle-aged man understood just how terrifying Jianchen was. He even felt like he was stared into a death god's eyes as he looked at Jianchen's cold pupils. They seemed like they could suck away his soul at any moment. Warrior, the turtle clan's been wiped out by the Tao family. I am a member of the Tao family, so I hope you can spare my life on behalf of the clan, the middle-aged man replied to Jianchen with a trembling voice. His heart was filled with fear. At the same time, he did not forget to bring up the Tao family in an attempt to scare off Jianchen to prevent him from doing anything. What? The turtle clan's been wiped out, Jianchen mumbled in a daze as a clap of thunder seemed to have exploded in his head. He felt the world spin around him. Although he did not have any deep ties with the turtle clan, their Grand Elder had saved his life before. In order to save him, the Grand Elder had been killed, and his attachment to the clan formed a will after his death. This was more than enough to show just how important the clan was to the Grand Elder. Jianchen no longer had the opportunity to thank the Grand Elder for saving his life, so all he could do was help him fulfill his final wish, to develop the turtle clan and make them regain their former glory, letting the Grand Elder die without regrets. Yet now, not only had the turtle clan failed to return to their former glory under his leadership, they had suffered a disaster instead. How was it possible for Jian Chen to not become mad? The Tao family. Jian Chen clenched his teeth and the killing intent around him had reached a maximum. He struck his hand against the head of the middle-aged man, shattering it into pieces and killing him on the spot. The several dozen other people all stopped what they were doing and encircled him. They had come originally to see what was going on, but they immediately shivered inside when they saw Jian Chen smash the man's head into pieces. They began to back away slowly. Jian Chen glanced over all the people with his gaze filled with killing intent. He coldly said, "Are you all people of the Tao family? If that's the case, you can all be buried with the dead clansmen of the Turtle Clan." "Warrior, please wait." At this moment, an old voice filled with fear boomed out. An old man quickly rushed over from afar. He wore the exact same uniform as all the other people. The old man was a saint ruler, but only at the first heavenly layer. Clearly, he had only just broken through, yet he was already sweating bullets. He was horrified by the icy cold killing intent radiating from Jian Chen. "Warrior, an intense battle occurred 3 days ago between the Turtle Clan and the Tao family, but the Turtle Clan was not wiped out. All the remaining people have retreated over 10,000 kilometers to the south. We're only responsible for cleaning up the battlefield," the old man carefully explained with his head lowered his head. He did not choose to run because he knew that it would all be useless with his strength before Jian Chen. Jian Chen immediately expanded his presence after what the old man had said. Indeed, he found quite a few people of the Turtle Clan 10,000 kilometers to the south. Without any hesitation, he immediately shot into the sky and flew to where the Turtle Clan had gathered. "Big fellow, let's go!" Newbies yelled to Tai Ta before following Jian Chen. The old man sighed a breath of relief after avoiding calamity. He wiped away his cold sweat and turned to the others, "Don't bother with these corpses anymore. Another great expert has arrived for the Turtle Clan. Let's hurry back to the clan to report this." The place used to be empty, but it had now become the territory of a large clan. The clan that took up this land was the Turtle Clan. The Turtle Clan had only recently claimed this area for themselves. Many structures were newly built, and there were many houses that were still under construction. Although people flowed in and out of the clan unceasingly, very few people spoke. Every single one of them was filled with sorrow as they silently built their new homes with clenched teeth. Every single one of them possessed a hatred that they could not let go, which caused a miserable atmosphere to loom over the entire clan. Jian Chen, Nubis, and Tai Ta arrived at the new territory of the Turtle Clan at the same time. As soon as they touched down, a person building his house noticed them. He immediately recognized Jian Chen and became stunned before rubbing his eyes. His face then became filled with delight and disbelief. "It's the ruler. The ruler's returned. It's the ruler who has returned. Fantastic, our ruler has returned," the person who recognized Jian Chen exclaimed. His voice was filled with excitement. "What? The ruler's returned? Is that true? Where? Where has the ruler returned? Has the ruler really returned? I see him. It really is the ruler. Fantastic, the ruler really has returned." More and more people discovered Jian Chen. They all enthusiastically added their voices to the cries as excitement flooded their faces. To all the people of the Turtle Clan, the ruler was their pillar of support. He was the hope of the Turtle Clan. Even though they had been forced into such a horrible position by the Tao family, they were still filled with confidence because of the ruler. All of them believed that the Turtle Clan would never fall apart as long as the ruler watched over them. This was because every single one of them could remember just how weak the Turtle Clan had been several years ago. The entire clan did not even have a 16th star expert, yet after the ruler had come, the entire clan had undergone an overwhelming change. In just a few years, they expanded from having no 16th star experts to having at least 5 16th star experts at all times. They had even taken back most of their former crystal mines. Although the Turtle Clan had suffered a severe blow this time, all of them believed that the reason why they had suffered this blow was because the ruler was not present. They would never have suffered defeat if the ruler had been present. Chapter 1230, The Arrogant Tao Family. In the center of the clan, a grand hall over 20 meters tall stood silently. The entire hall was an earthen color. It had been created by a saint ruler using his abilities to control the earth, creating it from soil in a very short amount of time. Quite a powerful energy was hidden inside. At this moment, several saint ruler elders of the Turtle Clan gathered in an extremely spacious room of the hall in worry. Every single one of them had things weighing on their hearts, filling the room with a heavy atmosphere. What do you think the clan should do now? Do we give up all the crystal mines that used to belong to us, or do we continue to develop here and face against the constant threat of the Tao family moving against us? The fourth elder sternly inquired. No, we definitely can't relinquish the crystal mines that used to belong to us. All these mines are a huge resource for the clan. It's the only thing that can support our vigorous growth. If we give them up now, it'll be even more difficult to get them back in the future. Since a Hall Elder of the Sea Goddess Hall stepped forward to stop our battle with the Tao family, I believe the Tao family won't attack us so easily in the future. The sixth elder disagreed right after the fourth elder finished speaking. Humph. Are you relying on the Hall Elders to always stand by our side, sixth elder? The ancestor of the Tao family, Tao Jingtian, will reach the peak of the 16th star soon. He will become a Hall Elder sooner or later. Once he takes that position, he can move against our clan without the slightest worry. That day will become the true end of our clan. The fifth elder coldly snorted. He disagreed with the sixth elder very much. The fourth elder gently sighed because of what the fifth elder had said. He added, "It's a pity that the ruler's not present. If he was, then all would be fine. Only he can determine the rise or decline of our clan. The ancestor of the Tao family is just far too powerful, and he's even joined with the Moshi clan through marriage, which makes him even more influential in the sea realm. Coupled with the fact that he's formed an alliance with over 10 large clans, the number of 15th and 16th star experts they've gathered is not something our clan can deal with. We probably still won't have the power to contend with the Tao family even if the ruler returns," the seventh elder added in a heavy voice. The fourth elder's expression changed, and he sternly looked at the seventh elder. He berated, "Seventh elder, how can you talk about the ruler like that? As an elder of the Turtle Clan, you can lose confidence in yourself, but you should never lose confidence in the ruler because he is the greatness of the Turtle Clan, the person who holds all the hope of the Turtle Clan. We are only truly powerful when we have him watching over us. We need to stand firm. Once the ruler returns, we'll be able to recover from this situation." The seventh elder immediately fell silent. He lowered his head. The ruler of the Turtle Clan never stayed in the clan for very long, but he had established a great impression among the elders. "Our report." At this moment, a guard called out from afar as he rushed over in a hurry. Seeing how impatient the guard was, the elders immediately stopped their discussion. One of them stared at the guard and heavily asked, "What's happened? Has the experts of the Tao family come?" "No, elders, the ruler has returned." "The ruler has returned," the guard huffed. He was extremely excited. "What? The ruler's returned?" The elders present beamed with delight. One of them chuckled aloud and said with a clear voice, "Everyone, let's go welcome the ruler." "No need, I'm already here." Jian Chen's deep voice rang through the hall right after the elder spoke. Before Jian Chen had finished speaking, he had already appeared before everyone with newbies and Tai Ta along with a great group of clansmen. The clansmen stopped outside the hall while joy and excitement from the bottom of their hearts was plastered across their faces. "We greet the ruler." The elders of the Turtle Clan immediately bowed to Jian Chen. They were all emotional where even their voices trembled slightly. Jian Chen walked up to the throne and sat down while the elders stood in a row below in a courteous manner. Nubis and Tai Ta were much more relaxed in comparison. They knew that Jian Chen had important matters to deal with, so they did not disturb him. Instead, they began to stroll around the place by themselves. Tell me exactly what has happened. Why has the Tao family attacked the Turtle clan without any reason? Jian Chen coldly asked with a sunken expression. The fourth elder immediately stepped forward. He politely explained the situation to Jian Chen. Ruler, I believe you know that the Turtle clan has been working on taking back the crystals mines that had been taken from us after our strength had increased. Originally, we had taken back most of them with only a few better, larger mines still in the possession of a few large clans. They persisted in not returning them, so in order to resist the Turtle clan, they've even formed an alliance with the Tao family. The remaining mines are just far too important to us, and they belonged to us originally, so we never gave up on them. Hence, many conflicts occurred between the experts of the Turtle clan and the alliance, causing both sides to suffer casualties. However, since we had 5 16th star experts guarding us, we were in no way weaker than the alliance, so we were locked in a stalemate. But this balance in power was disrupted a month ago. The Tao family has joined with another peak-level organization of the Sea Goddess Hall, the Mashi clan, through marriage. They have 2 great experts, one at the 16th star and another at the 15th star. The 16th star ancestor of the Mashi clan is almost as powerful as Tao Zhengtian. The alliance completely exceeds us in strength with the participation of the Mashi clan. Soon afterward, the Tao family sent an envoy to our clan and brazenly declared that we had seized many crystal mines without any fear and had broken the peace within the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall because we had the support of a few 16th star experts. He also demanded us to hand over all our crystal mines as well as pay for the losses they had recently suffered, or the Tao family would unite all the clans and organizations we had abused to come teach us a lesson. Reaching there, the fourth elder's voice had already become filled with an anger that he struggled to suppress. His eyes were about to burst into flames. Even the other elders in the hall were extremely furious as well, and their faces had paled. Jian Chen's face sank even more as he sat on the throne. Heavy killing intent had already appeared in his eyes. He had been angered by the actions of the Tao family. Ignoring the fact that the crystal mines all used to belong to the Turtle clan, just the demand from the Tao family that stated that the clan had to hand over all their crystal mines had already crossed the line for Jian Chen, not to mention that they had even demanded the Turtle clan to make up for the losses that they had suffered in recent years. The Tao family could no longer be described as arrogant and rampant. They had gone overboard, far overboard. The fourth elder recovered and continued, "How could we agree to such an overboard demand right off the bat?" As a result, the alliance began to launch a large-scale attack on our clan 3 days ago, but we could do nothing since the alliance's strength completely exceeded our own. Even with Qin Do, Qing Yishuan, Lan Jing, Xian Pian, and Mokas, all experts of the 16th star, we were still unable to stop the attack from the Tao family. The battle lasted for just half a day, and all the 5 of our 16th star experts became heavily injured by the people of the alliance. In the end, the battle only reached a conclusion because a hall elder had made it in time. Indeed, the Tao family wanted to use the power of the alliance to wipe us out 3 days ago. If the hall elder had not forcefully interfered and protected us, we probably would have been wiped out by the Tao family already. "Ruler, we need to take revenge for this," said the fifth elder righteously. "Ruler, our clan sustained extremely heavy injuries in the battle. Half of the clansmen have passed away, over 30,000, and we've lost 4 elders. We can't just do nothing over this debt of blood. Ruler, please lead us. Ruler, you must let us pay back the debt of blood." Every single elder within the hall resentfully spoke through clenched teeth. All of their eyes burned with the roaring flames of revenge. How many 15th and 16th star experts are there among the alliance? Jian Chen coldly asked. He would obviously take revenge for the Turtle Clan, but he needed to have a proper understanding of the Tao family's strength first. Jian Chen could already completely ignore saint rulers. He cared more about how many saint kings the Tao family had. The elders all hesitated slightly. Then the fourth elder replied, "Ruler, the Tao family currently has 4 15th star experts and at least 2 16th star experts. They would be the 2 ancestors of the Tao family and the Mashi clan." No, there was another expert who matched up against Tai Do in a stalemate other than the Tao family ancestor and the Mashi clan ancestor. There should be at least one other 16th star expert. I don't think all of you saw it, but when the battle erupted, there was another person in the alliance who watched on. I could not discern their strength. He did not take part in the battle. I am guessing that he's a 16th star expert as well, added another elder. Jian Chen frowned. He discovered that it was indeed rather difficult for the Saint Ruler elders to discuss the level of Saint Kings. Stop rambling. Bring me Qing Yishuan, Tai Do, Lan Jing, Xian, and Mochas. I know they're healing, so summon them immediately, ordered Jian Chen. Yes, ruler, an elder followed his orders and immediately rushed out of the hall as quickly as possible. Chapter 1231, Envoy of the Tao family. Jian Chen did not wait for very long before Qing Yishuan, Tai Do, Lan Jing, Xian, and Mochas entered the hall. Their faces were pale white, without a shred of blood, and they were extremely heavily injured. To think you would still know to return. You sure are having it easy as the ruler of the Turtle Clan. Leaving behind the 5 of us and then vanishing. Back when I told you to deal with the Tao family, you insisted on saying no. Now look at it. The Tao family and the Mashi clan have joined in marriage, and they're already prevailing. They're not something that the current Turtle Clan can deal with. What do you think we should do? Qing Yishuan could not help but criticize Jian Chen as soon as she saw him. Although she had already agreed to temporarily watch over the Turtle Clan, it was just an agreement in the end. Qing Yishuan was still biased against Jian Chen. She still remembered the moment when Jian Chen had taken the Octaterra map fragment from her while she was heavily injured. She could not forget it no matter how she tried. Unfortunately, Jian Chen was no longer the insignificant saint ruler from before, so even if she hated him, she was not his opponent. I didn't move against the Tao family back then because I was not confident we could completely suppress them, which was why I let them be. It's just that I never thought that the Tao family would strengthen so quickly and declare war against my Turtle Clan themselves, Jian Chen coldly replied. What he really feared about the Tao family was their ancestor, Tao Jingtian. It was said that he was quite close to becoming a hall elder, and all hall elders were saint kings at great perfection. Then do you have the power to deal with the Tao family right now? Qing Yishuan stared at Jian Chen. Among everyone present, he was the only person she did not show any respect to. She had always felt like he owed her. Tell me in detail just how many saint kings the Tao family have first and what level of strength they possess as well as Tao Jingtian's exact strength, Jian Chen said. The alliance of the Tao family has a total of 9 saint kings so far. There are 4 beneath the 5th heavenly layer and 5 that are either at the 5th heavenly layer or above. 1 is of the 5th heavenly layer, 2 are of the 6th heavenly layer, another is of the 7th heavenly layer, and the last one is of the 8th heavenly layer. The ancestor of the Mashi clan is of the 7th heavenly layer while Tao Jingtian is the strongest, having reached the peak of the 8th heavenly layer. He is also only a single step away from reaching the 9th, and I heard that Tao Jingtian is in possession of a divine hall as well, Qing Yishuan coldly replied. Jian Chen frowned. Adding Nubis, Tai Ta, and him, they only had 8 saint kings. Tai Do was of the 5th heavenly layer while Qing Yishuan, Lan Jing, Xian and Mochas were all of the 6th heavenly layer. Nubis was the weakest, at the 4th heavenly layer, but if he used the Saint-tier battle skill he had modified, he could temporarily match up against experts of the 7th heavenly layer. As for he himself and Tai Ta, both of them could face up against experts of the 7th heavenly layer without suffering defeat. Together, they were in no way weaker than the Tao family alliance. They may even be stronger. However, what pained Jian Chen was that Tao Jingtian was in possession of a divine hall. His side seemed very strong, but it was still not enough to destroy a divine hall. Qing Yixuan thought that Jian Chen was not confident that they could defeat the Tao family when she saw him frown. She could not help but sigh inside. The influence of the Tao family was like the midday sun right now, and without much time, Tao Jingtian would become a hall elder as well. At that time, dealing with them would become even more difficult, and she had no idea if she would still have the chance of obtaining what she wanted. If she did not obtain the item, she would not be brave enough to return to the Tianyuan continent. God damn it. I had the Octaterra map fragment before, and I could have used it to exchange with the Tao family for what I wanted. It's all because the map fragment was stolen away by Jian Chen. Qing Yixuan gritted her teeth in hatred when she thought up to that point. At this moment, a guard quickly rushed inside. He said in a rather flustered manner, "Ruler, the Tao family has sent an envoy. He's currently waiting outside." An envoy of the Tao family. Jian Chen became stunned, probably due to the fact that he did not expect an envoy to come at such a crucial moment. However, he quickly snapped back to his senses and said, "Lead the way for him." "There's no need to lead the way. I'll come in myself." An arrogant voice rang out from outside as soon as Jian Chen had finished speaking. He was a skinny old man who strode over with his chest high, as if he was above everyone present. The old man was a saint ruler, and behind him followed 2 heaven saint masters. The elders of the Turtle clan immediately became furious when they saw the envoy. Their hatred for the Tao family had already reached a bone-deep level. As soon as the envoy stepped into the hall, he quickly glanced around. When he discovered the 16th star expert standing below and Jian Chen sitting above, his heart immediately sank. He could already sense an ill omen, but he immediately became fearless when he thought of the Tao family's current strength. The envoy knew that he had come this time as a representative of the powerful Tao family, so even if there were many 16th star experts present, he still remained composed and unhurried. He observed Jian Chen who sat on the throne without any fear and freely smiled. "May I ask who you are, and why I've never seen you before?" The envoy's attitude was flippant, as if he did not care about Jian Chen's identity at all. "How dare you kneel before our ruler?" An elder of the Turtle clan berated the envoy. The envoy came to an understanding and became surprised. He clasped his hands. "Oh, so you're the legendary ruler of the Turtle clan. Please forgive me rudeness, I have truly been rude. Since you know he's our ruler, why don't you hurry up and kneel? It's your honor to be able to see our ruler at the 13th star," another elder demanded. The envoy began to laugh aloud. "You sure are worthy of being the ruler of a clan, demanding respect at times like this. However, I've only ever kneeled to ancestor Tao Jingtian. Even the current patriarch of the Tao family has no right to make me kneel, so I do wonder if the ruler of the Turtle clan deserves such a thing. How dare you, such boldness! You must be tired of living for speaking like this to the ruler." Every single elder became utterly furious. Jian Chen deeply frowned as well. The Tao family was just too arrogant. Even a mere saint ruler envoy was acting in such a cocky fashion before so many saint kings. "Tai Do, toss out the 3 of them," Jian Chen coldly commanded. No matter what intentions they had come with, he did not plan on talking to them with how arrogantly they acted. The envoy's expression immediately changed when he heard that Jian Chen was about to throw them out of the clan. He yelled, "Don't you dare! I'm representing the Tao family." Once he reached that point, he was thrown out of the clan along with his 2 followers by Tai Do. Although Tao Do was heavily injured, he was still a 5th heavenly layer saint king. The envoy could not resist the frozen space. Plop. 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 100 meters away, 3 muffled sounds could be heard. The envoy and his followers heavily hit the ground. Although they were not injured, they were reduced to a mess. The 2 followers silently climbed up and did not dare to say anything. However, the envoy was furious. When he had been thrown out by Taido, he had been locked up by spatial force and was unable to control his body, making him come so close to the ground. How could he endure something like that as a mighty saint ruler? At the same time, he had already subconsciously determined the Turtle Clan had been defeated and that they should have treated him with plenty of respect and politeness. Yet, the situation was the exact opposite. The envoy ignored the gleeful gazes of the clansmen from his suffering as he furiously charged back into the hall. He roared out, "How dare you? How dare you treat an envoy of the Tao family like this? You will regret your actions." A gleam of light flashed through Jian Chen's eyes, and he said with a heavy voice, "Taido, throw him out. If he charges in again, kill him immediately." "Yes, sir," responded Taido as he arrived before the envoy. He extended his hand, about to throw him out. "Wait." The envoy had already been trapped by Taido. Seeing how he was about to be tossed out yet again, he quickly shouted to make him stop. He said through gritted teeth, "I've come under the Patriarch's orders to deliver a message. After the message is delivered, I will leave immediately." With that, the envoy felt like he was out of trouble, so he added something else, "If it weren't for the Patriarch's orders, I wouldn't be willing to come even if this mere Turtle Clan had invited me." "Humph. Speak. What did the Patriarch want you to say?" Jian Chen emotionlessly ordered. The envoy calmed down and unhappily stared at Jian Chen. He said, "The Turtle Clan has attempted to take the grand quality crystal mines in possession of the Tao family time and time again, which has resulted in great losses for us. In the battle 3 days ago, a large number of experts and elites fell, so the Turtle Clan had already caused an extremely great loss to the Tao family. As a result, the Turtle Clan has 15 days to pay up 1 billion grand quality crystal coins as compensation, or the clan will take corresponding measures against the Turtle Clan." The elders of the Turtle Clan began to tremble in rage after they heard what the envoy had to say. The Tao family was going more and more overboard. Even if they used everything they had, they probably would not be able to gather 100 million, let alone 1 billion crystal coins. Although they had been in possession of some crystal mines for some time, it was just far too little time to make a grand sum. "I have delivered the Patriarch's message. Farewell." The envoy turned around in an attempt to leave. "Wait." Jian Chen stopped the envoy from leaving. He turned around to look at Jian Chen as he coldly asked, "What is it, ruler?" A gleam of heavy killing intent flashed through Jian Chen's eyes. He coldly answered, "Envoy, you would have been able to leave safely before you had said that, but now you can't." The envoy's expression changed. He growled, "What are you trying to do?" Chapter 1232, Mobilization. Jian Chen ignored the envoy. He looked at Taido and said, "Bring me his head." Taido became stunned by that command, as if he had never thought that Jian Chen wanted to kill the envoy right there. However, he snapped back to his senses very quickly, moving against the envoy without saying anything more. "How dare you? Are you trying to make trouble? I am the representative of the Tao family." The envoy's expression really changed as he hurriedly cried out. He had never thought that Jian Chen would actually want to kill him. After all, he had come this time as a representative of the Tao family. If the Turtle Clan really did kill him, the flames of rage from the Tao family would burn them to a crisp. He did not believe the Turtle Clan was the Tao family's opponent, even if their legendary ruler had returned. Taido ignored the cries of the envoy. He extended his hand and twisted the envoy's head, forcefully wrenching it from his neck. With the envoy's strength as a saint ruler, he was completely immobilized by Tai Do's abilities as a Saint King. All he could do was watch helplessly as his head parted from his body. The envoy had not died. As a saint ruler, severing the head from the body was not enough to claim his life. As long as his soul was still present, he could still survive even if his head had been reduced to pieces. At that moment, the envoy stared at Jian Chen wide-eyed, in shock and anger. Even now, he refused to believe that the Turtle Clan was bold enough to treat him like that they were completely unafraid of the Tao family behind him. Jian Chen flicked a finger from the throne and a sharp sword chi shot from the tip of his finger. It disappeared between the envoy's eyebrows. The eyes of the envoy quickly lost their luster and became glassy. Jian Chen's sword chi had wiped out his soul. Jian Chen waved his arm and a gust of wind blew away the envoy's head, directing it into the hands of a follower that had come with him. Jian Chen coldly said, "Go tell Tao Zhengtian that he must return all the mines of the Turtle Clan within a day and that he must pay 10 billion crystal coins in compensation for the casualties the Turtle Clan suffered in the battle several days ago. If he fails to do those two things in the given time, my Turtle Clan will begin a devastating attack on the Tao family and all those in the alliance. We will not let the matter rest until we are dead." The two followers had become as pale as paper as fear overwhelmed their souls. They could not help but tremble. They quickly nodded after hearing what Jian Chen had to say before rushing out the Turtle Clan with the envoy's head in bewilderment. All the elders of the Turtle Clan were delighted and they saw the outcome of the envoy. Some of the elders had even become extremely excited and emotional from what Jian Chen had said to the two followers at the end. Their Turtle Clan finally had no need to endure the oppression of the Tao family. At the same time, they understood just how important the ruler was to the Turtle Clan. They had suffered devastating attacks from the Tao family when the ruler had not been present before. If a hall elder had not interfered, they probably would no longer exist. Now that the ruler had returned, the clan had toughened again. They no longer feared the Tao family. "Jian Chen, have you really made up your mind to move against the Tao family? Are you confident you can deal with them?" Qing Yishuan sternly asked, but she too felt some anticipation inside. Jian Chen nodded. "If the Tao family really is only as powerful as you've described, they are indeed not enough to threaten us." The situation this time was different from the last. Nubis had already emerged from seclusion and coupled with Tai Ta, who was no weaker than himself, the Tao family really did not pose much of a threat to them. "But the five of us are all heavily injured. We can't recover in a short amount of time," Qing Yishuan said with some worry. Although she had no idea where Jian Chen's confidence originated from, she also knew that Jian Chen was not a reckless person. A mysterious smile appeared on Jian Chen's face. "I obviously know that the five of you are heavily injured. You don't need to worry about this problem. I can heal all of you up very quickly." With that, a golden streak of light flashed from between Jian Chen's eyebrows as the saint artifact flew out from his sea of consciousness. "Don't resist," Jian Chen advised before sucking them into the artifact space. He planned on getting the artifact spirit to heal them. Although Jian Chen was also a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master, only water-attributed energy was abundant in the Sea realm. Radiant Saint force was extremely thin. If he used his own powers to heal the five of them, it would be nowhere near as effective as on the Tianyuan continent. The origin energy of Radiant Saint force was a consumable energy to him. It was even more difficult to recover than chaotic force, so in order to save on origin energy, he could only let the artifact spirit handle healing them. To reach Class 8 as a Radiant Saint Master, all that was needed was accumulation. Once a Radiant Saint Master possessed a certain level of origin energy, their souls would improve qualitatively and, hence, reach the 8th class. Jian Chen did not possess a lot of Radiant Saint Force origin energy. He had absorbed as much as he could when the seal within the artifact space had broken open. This origin energy was his hope to reach Class 8, so he would not waste even a small amount of it unless he had no other choice. The artifact spirit had reached Class 8 as a Radiant Saint Master, so under his healing, the 5 of them used less than an hour to make a full recovery from their extremely heavy injuries, which delighted them very much. Afterward, Jian Chen gave the 5 of them another half a day to recover their expended saint force. Afterward, he led Qing Yishuan, Tai Do, Xian Pian, Mokas, Nubis, and Tai Ta toward the Tao family in an aggressive manner. A few elders of the clan followed along as well. Jian Chen did not count on the Tao family agreeing to his limit of a single day because he knew that it was impossible. At the same time, several hundreds of thousand kilometers away, a middle-aged man paced around in a well-adorned room within a medium-sized tribe named the Kaler tribe. His brows were tightly furrowed, as if something weighed on his heart. He was the current patriarch of the Kaler tribe as well as Kaya's father. Jia Sua, has the young lady still not emerged from seclusion? Suddenly, the patriarch asked someone outside. Patriarch, the young lady is still in seclusion and has still not come out, replied the guard outside. The patriarch furrowed his brows even more tightly as he felt a vague unease inside. He understood his daughter extremely well. Even though she had shown great talent since she was young, she was not very enthusiastic about cultivating, or she probably would have become a 14th star expert already with her talent. Yet now, she seemed to have undergone an unbelievable change after being taken away by the ruler of the Turtle Clan. She entered a long period of seclusion as soon as she had returned, despite never entering seclusion in the past. She had not emerged even now, which filled him with great worry as a father. He was extremely curious at the same time. He had no idea just what had happened after the ruler of the Turtle Clan had taken away his daughter. Why had his daughter become so enthusiastic about cultivating? Had she been abused? As the patriarch deeply pondered these mysteries, a guard's shocked cry rang out, "Ah! Young miss, why, you've emerged." Before the guard could finish his sentence, the door to the room was pushed open. Kaya walked in with her sky-blue clothes. Her entire presence was slightly different compared to before she had entered seclusion. The patriarch became stunned when Kaya suddenly appeared before him. However, he beamed with joy soon after. "Kaya, you've finally emerged. Fantastic. Do you know how worried I've become since you suddenly went into seclusion?" Kaya smiled and gently replied, "Sorry father, I've made your worry." The patriarch could sense that Kaya did not behave abnormally at all, which relieved him. He freely smiled, "It's fine, it's fine. As long as you are well." The patriarch saw how Kaya was hesitating, so he followed up with a caring question, "Kaya, is there something weighing on your mind? If there's anything I can help you with, just tell me. I'll do everything I can." "Oh right, Kaya. Why did the ruler of the Turtle Clan look for you last time? And why did you enter seclusion as soon as you had returned, only emerging now?" Kaya hesitated before saying, "Father, I've actually emerged from seclusion this time to ask you for some crystal coins." "It's just some crystal coins. How much do you need?" The patriarch smiled. "The more the better, because I need a great pile of crystal coins when I enter seclusion," Kaya said with a slight blush. She knew that the amount of crystal coins she needed was so vast that the Kaler tribe probably would not be able to provide them all. However, with her meager strength, she had no other choice than to seek the tribe for help if she wanted to power up quickly. The patriarch's smile gradually disappeared. He seriously examined his daughter right before him. At that moment, he was doubting whether the person before him was the girl he was familiar with, since his daughter had never worked so hard at cultivating before. Chapter 1233, Battle Between Two Clans. 1. Kaya, you have to tell me the truth. Just what did the ruler of the Turtle Clan do to you when he took you away? Why do you seem completely different than before? You're working so hard on your cultivation. Has the ruler of the Turtle Clan abused you? The patriarch of the Kaler tribe asked with a heavy tone. Kaya knew that her recent change had led to her father misunderstanding things. Her father had even thought too much about it and twisted what had happened. She could not help but break into laughter. "Father, stop thinking about all these random things. Actually, the ruler of the turtle clan came to give me an extremely impressive cultivation method when he came looking for me. I could not help but start working hard on cultivation after being moved emotionally, which is why I immediately went into seclusion right after I had returned." An extremely impressive cultivation method? What is it? It's even greater than the innate spirit opening technique of the 8 divine arts? The patriarch stared at Kaya in shock. Kaya hesitated slightly before saying, "The ruler gave me the cultivation method of the Octaterra Emperor as well as his experiences and knowledge regarding cultivation." "Father, do you think it's greater than the innate spirit opening technique?" "What?" "The cultivation method of the Octaterra Emperor." The patriarch was greatly shocked as disbelief flooded his face. His expression then suddenly changed, and he immediately erected a barrier to isolate the room with wave of his hand. Afterward, he excitedly looked at his daughter and said with a trembling voice, "My dear daughter, did the ruler of the Turtle Clan really give you the cultivation method of the Octaterra Emperor as well as his cultivation knowledge and experiences?" "Yes." "How can I trick you, father? If you don't believe me, do you want me to take it out for you to have a look?" Kaya seriously asked. The patriarch immediately waved his hands, "No, no, no. I believe you, but you have to be careful. You can't let anyone else know that you possess the cultivation method of the Octaterra Emperor, okay?" The patriarch was extremely stern. "Yes, father, I understand," Kaya solemnly replied. She clearly understood just how important the matter was. Afterward, the patriarch passed a space ring to Kaya. He said, "There's 5 million grand quality crystal coins in there. That's all the crystal coins I have on me, so take it and use it first. I'll call a gathering with the elders later on and persuade them. Then I'll pour a portion of the tribe's resources into you. Just don't worry. I'll do everything I can to help you obtain cultivation resources. Then I'll take my leave first. I'll work extra hard to see if I can become a 15th star expert as soon as possible." Kaya left with the space ring. She did not waste a single moment, entering seclusion once more. After Kaya had left, the patriarch remained in the well-adorned room. He was unable to calm down from his excited state for quite some time. He had never dreamed that his daughter would experience such great fortune, to have actually obtained the cultivation method of an emperor. He also believed that with her talent, it was extremely possible for her to become an expert on par to emperors in the future with the cultivation method and knowledge from the Octaterra Emperor. As a father, he felt extremely prideful when he thought about how his own daughter would accomplish something so great in the future, even if it had not happened yet. Odd. The cultivation method of the Octaterra Emperor is invaluable, so why did the ruler of the Turtle Clan give it to Kaya for no reason? The patriarch thought of a very crucial question after calming down, which confused him very much. However, he did not think too much about it. He removed the barrier and walked out. At the entrance, 2 guards of the tribe stood there with straight backs as they stared ahead. The patriarch glanced past the 2 of them. He coughed and said, "Did the 2 of you hear anything?" As he asked the question, he seemed to be unconcerned, but he devoted all his attention to the 2 guards. Confusion filled the gazes of the guards, and they replied, "Patriarch, we didn't hear anything." The patriarch nodded slightly before gradually walking away without saying anything else. His mind then became filled with methods to direct a portion of the tribe's resources to Kaya without causing any doubt among the elders. At this moment, over 10 people of various ages gathered in a grand hall within the Tao family. They varied in strength, ranging from saint rulers to saint kings. They all gathered around a large round table that was filled with various delicacies. I never thought that a hall elder would appear and ruin our campaign to wipe out the domineering Turtle Clan. What a pity, what a pity. We missed such a good opportunity just like that, said a middle-aged man regretfully. He radiated with a vague but vast presence. He was a Saint King and was a part of the various clans that had allied themselves with the Tao family. His name was Tai Tongi. Brother Tai Tongi, there's no need to be regretful. The Turtle Clan can be lucky the first time, but it definitely won't happen a second time. The patriarch of the Tao family has already sent an envoy to the Turtle Clan. If they don't hand over 1 billion crystal coins in half a month, it will be perfectly justifiable for us to wipe them out. As long as we are reasonable, even Hall elders can't forcefully order us to stop, said the ancestor of the Cayenne clan. He was also a Saint King, having reached the 6th heavenly layer. He was a 16th star expert. Tai Tongi clasped his hands at the ancestor of the Cayenne clan and said, "That's reasonable, Brother D-Sun, but I worry that the Turtle Clan will take advantage of this time and flee, moving the entire clan out of the Sea Goddess Hall's territory. And if they really do pull out 1 billion crystal coins in half a month, what do we do with them?" A blue-robed, middle-aged man with quite a striking appearance stood up and clasped his hands. "Senior Tai Tongi, you are worrying too much. Firstly, the Turtle Clan will not be able to retreat. Before they've compensated us with the 1 billion crystal coins, it is perfectly reasonable for us to stop them if they try to escape from the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. At the same time, I've already sent people to conduct a detailed investigation of the Turtle Clan. Even if they use everything the clan has, they won't even be able to pay up 100 million crystal coins, let alone the 1 billion that we've demanded." He was the current patriarch of the Tao family, Tao Yun. He was a saint ruler of the 9th heavenly layer, and it was rumored that he would definitely break through in 50 years and reach a greater level of cultivation. "We won't worry since the patriarch has put it like that. Several months ago, my most beloved and most favored grandson died to the experts of the Turtle Clan. I need to repay this debt with all the blood of the Turtle Clan," said a bald old man coldly. Heavy killing intent lingered in his eyes. "Don't worry, Brother Ingamo. You will have your revenge for your grandson. Half a month later will be the day the Turtle Clan ends," said a ruddy, sage-like old man. He was the ancestor of the Tao family, Tao Zhengtian. At this moment, an old man who seemed to be the caretaker rushed in. His complexion was very horrible, and he hoarsely cried out, "Ancestor, the envoy to the Turtle Clan has returned. Let them in and report the exact details of the situation," Tao Zhengtian coldly ordered. "Yes, sir." The person backed out under Tao Zhengtian's orders. Very soon, the 2 heaven saint masters that had visited the Turtle Clan walked in with a bloodied head. They then kneeled on the ground with lowered heads. Including Tao Zhengtian, all the people in THR room revealed a different expression and became furious when they saw the bloodied head. Heavy killing intent flickered in their eyes. Bang! Tao Zhengtian slammed the table as his face darkened to the point that it had become terrifying. He furiously roared, "How dare they! The Turtle Clan sure is bold to kill the envoy that we the Tao family have sent. Humph! The Turtle Clan already faces their demise, yet they still don't know how to repent for their mistakes, fearlessly killing the envoy of the Tao family. They are not treating the Tao family with any importance at all. This is a naked provocation of the Tao family, as well as a way to demonstrate their might to all of us." All the experts from the large clans said in a righteous manner in their fury. "Explain exactly what happened during the visit, the 2 of you. Do not miss any details at all," Tao Zhengtian indifferently commanded the 2 followers. The 2 followers did not dare to miss anything. They immediately explained what had happened in the Turtle Clan, exactly how it occurred. "Humph, I never thought that the mere ruler of the Turtle Clan would be so arrogant. Does he think of himself as a hall elder?" Tao Zhengtian immediately and coldly sneered when he heard the story from the 2 followers. "Ancestor, the ruler of the Turtle Clan has also told us to bring back a message," one of the followers said with hesitation. "Speak. What has the ruler gotten you to bring back?" Tao Zhengtian coldly asked. The ruler said that we must return all the mines of the Turtle Clan within a day and that we must pay 10 billion crystal coins in compensation for the casualties the Turtle Clan has suffered in the battle several days ago. If we fail to do those two things in the given time, the Turtle Clan will begin a devastating attack on the Tao family and all those in the alliance. They will not let the matter rest until they are dead, the follower said as he trembled. The hall immediately fell into an abnormal silence with that. All of the people had been stunned by that, unable to return to their senses for quite some time. Ha ha ha, I haven't heard wrong, have I? The ruler of the Turtle Clan wants us to pay 10 billion crystal coins as compensation, or he will launch a devastating attack against us. Has the ruler gone mad from anger? The Turtle Clan isn't even going to weigh their own strength first, and they want to launch a devastating attack against us? Pfft. I think the ruler of the Turtle Clan's gotten ahead of himself. All the experts in the hall sneered. None of them believed that the Turtle Clan possessed the power to do what they had declared. Tao Zhengtian began to laugh from his anger. At that moment, his gaze became extremely sharp as heavy killing intent wildly flickered in his eyes. He sneered, "Good. Very well. Very well. The Turtle Clan is so arrogant. I'd like to see just how the little Turtle Clan will launch a devastating attack against us. Everyone, I originally planned to give the Turtle Clan half a month, but it looks like we no longer need to wait that long. We can move against them tomorrow. Everyone, let's head over to the Turtle Clan right now and see just what they possess that's allowing them to be so arrogant. There's no need to go. We've already come." A deafening voice echoed from the sky as soon as Tao Zhengtian finished speaking. The voice was so loud that it continued to echo in the surroundings, lingering for quite some time before disappearing. Chapter 1234, Battle Between Two Clans, 2, Above the Tao Family, Jianchen, Tai Ta, Nubis, Qingyishuan, Tai Do, Lan Jing, Xian Pian, and Mokas hovered 100 meters in the air in an arrogant manner. Every single one of them was calm and cool as vast presences radiated from the 8 of them, blanketing the entire Tao family. The air seemed to have become heavy under their presences. The weaker members of the Tao family all paled while a small portion of them even began to bleed from the corner of their mouths. Their organs had already become heavily injured, having ruptured from the supreme presences. Even the saint rulers within the Tao family revealed rather unnatural expressions. Powerful energy revolved around them as they used everything they had to resist the unending pressure. Humph! A cold snort rang from the central hall within the Tao family. At that moment, 9 Saint King presences surged out without showing any indication of giving in, ramming viciously against the 8 of them in the air like a wild tiger. Bang! A deep sound actually rang through the air with the collision of the invisible presences. The surrounding energy was affected as well. Becoming violent in that moment, it swept out like a storm, kicking sand and dust into the air. No one gained any upper hand from the clash between presences. Tao Zhengtian flew up from below with a sunken expression as the 8 Saint Kings from the Alliance followed behind him. Every single one of them possessed rather ugly expressions. "You're the ruler of the Turtle Clan?" Tao Zhengtian coldly asked as he stared at Jian Chen before quickly examining the 7 other people around him. He immediately became shocked. He had never thought that the Turtle Clan would actually possess 8 Saint Kings. The number was only 1 less than his alliance, but what surprised him even more was that the injured 5 had made full recoveries already. Tao Zhengtian understood Qin Yishuan, Tai Do, Lan Jing, Xian Pian, and Moka's injuries extremely well. 3 days ago, he had determined that they would not have been able to recover without several years of time and that they would end up suffering from irremediable after-effects in the future. Even if they were in possession of great medicine, they would still need quite some time. It had only been 3 short days, yet the 5 of them had made full recoveries. At the same time, they did not seem to be suffering from any after-effects, which completely overturned Tao Jingtian's understanding of things. Correct. I am the ruler of the Turtle Clan. Tao Jingtian, I'll be collecting my debt from 3 days ago with interest, Jian Chen sneered. A sliver of disdain appeared in Tao Jingtian's eyes. He sneered as well, ruler of the Turtle Clan, your clan actually has 8 15th and 16th star experts. This has indeed exceeded what I expected, but if you think that you can deal with my Tao family with just the 8 of you, then you are mistaken. Jian Chen's gaze gradually sharpened to the point where it was like a sword. Heavy killing intent was present inside as well. He sneered, really? I'd like to see who made the great mistake. With that, the Emperor armament appeared in his hand. At that moment, Jian Chen's presence underwent a sudden change. If he seemed like an ordinary mortal before, he was now like a sword surging with aura. Kill! Suddenly, Jian Chen roared out. He immediately charged toward Tao Jingtian in an aggressive manner with his Emperor armament. At the same time, Nubis, Tai Ta, Qing Yishuan, Tai Do, Lan Jing, Xian Pian, and Mokas moved as well. At the peak of the 6th heavenly layer, Mokas faced up against the ancestor of the Mashi clan who was at the 7th heavenly layer, while Lan Jing and Xian Pian faced against 2 other saint kings who were at similar levels as them, both at the 6th heavenly layer. Qing Yishuan's opponent was a 5th heavenly layer saint king, while Nubis and Tai Do faced 2 4th heavenly layer saint kings. As for Tai Ta, he was dealing with 2 saint kings all by himself. However, they were the weakest saint kings within the alliance, one at the 2nd heavenly layer and the other at the 3rd. Jian Chen had decided this after discussing their options on the way here. Including Jian Chen, all of them were to keep their opponent busy, and then Tai Ta, who was most powerful among them, would handle the killing by starting with the weakest. 17 Saint Kings erupted in an intense battle above the Tao family. They fought with destructive attacks, where terrifying ripples of residual energy transformed into terrifying storms that wreaked havoc in the surroundings. Even 9th heavenly layer saint rulers dared not to approach them. Jian Chen and Tao Jingtian's battle was the most intense. Tao Jingtian knew that Jian Chen was not as powerful as him, so he used everything he had right from the start in attempt to finish off Jian Chen as soon as possible. Then he would go assist the other people against the experts of the Turtle Clan. At his limit, Jian Chen's battle prowess could reach the peak of the 7th heavenly layer. He currently faced against a Saint King at the peak of the 8th heavenly layer, so he used his full power without holding back at all. He abused the advantages of the chaotic body as he constantly stabbed out with his Emperor armament that bore strands of destructive chaotic force, attempting to harm Tao Jingtian with every attack. His every attack was extremely quick, where every single strike outpaced the previous. It formed a net of swords that seemed to be watertight right in front of him. However, Tao Jingtian was at the peak of the 8th heavenly layer after all. He was well versed in battle as well. His experience was in no way less than Jian Chen's. Faced against Jian Chen's torrential attack, he was still able to deal with it in a composed fashion. He even used his abilities as a Saint King to limit Jian Chen's movements from time to time. Although Jian Chen would shatter the space before it had completely frozen, it still caused some problems for him, gradually forcing him into a disadvantage. Although Jian Chen was not as powerful as Tao Jingtian, their disparity was just a single heavenly layer. At the same time, Jian Chen had experienced countless battles of different sizes throughout his life. His experience in combat was extremely rich, so it was extremely difficult for Tao Zhengtain to finish Jian Chen off in such a short amount of time. Mokas had also fallen to a disadvantage with Jian Chen. His opponent was a 7th heavenly layer Saint King, the ancestor of the Mashi clan. He had already been forced to retreat by his opponent. He was not as composed as Jian Chen was. Below, a huge barrier of energy had been erected over the territory of the Tao family. It protected all the weaker members of the Tao family, preventing them from suffering from the ripples of battle. Even though the barrier was extremely tough, it was still rather difficult to block the ripples from a battle of 17 Saint Kings. The transparent barrier had already begun to tremble under the constant barrage of the energy ripples, and it was shaking more and more. Several tens of thousand people had already gathered within the barrier, including saint rulers. All of them stared nervously at the barrier above as it constantly shook. They all knew that the Tao family would have been flattened by the ripples of battle in a single moment if the barrier hadn't been protecting them. At this moment, a golden, dazzling light flickered. Tai Ta quickly swung the meter-long edge of his axe across the air, blowing away the second heavenly layer Saint King. A supreme battle intent was present within the blade of the axe. It seemed to be able to annihilate the souls of people. As the target of Tai Ta's attack, the battle intent experienced by the second heavenly layer Saint King was the most intense. It collapsed his willpower to battle. He actually felt powerless before the strike. The golden light grew larger and larger in his pupils. Not only did the battle intent shatter his courage to battle, it had drawn away all of his attention as well. His soul had already become silently injured after being struck by the supreme battle intent. Spurt. The golden axe passed through the Saint King. From the top of his head, he had been cleaved in half. His soul was wiped out before it could even flee. After killing the Saint King, the golden axe continued on without weakening at all, continuing toward the energy barrier that protected the Tao family. Boom! A deafening sound immediately reverberated from the energy barrier. It was already about to collapse from the energy ripples of 17 Saint Kings soon, so it immediately caved in after suffering an extraordinary strike from Tai Ta's axe. It shattered loudly. Without the protection of the barrier, the violent energy immediately surged toward the Tao family like a flood. At that moment, the various structures in the surroundings collapsed and countless people died or became injured. Tao Jingtian roared at the sky in anger. Extremely heavy killing intent radiated from him as he called out, "People of the Turtle Clan, if you're bold enough, face against us 10,000 kilometers away. There's no need to move that far away. Isn't it pretty good to have a death match here?" Jian Chen sneered. He was not worried. No matter what the outcome of the battle was, the Tao family would suffer severely. Arg. Experts of the Turtle Clan, I want to skin you alive and wrench out your tendons. Tao Jingtian roared at the sky. A third of the elite members of the Tao family had passed away in the short moment since the barrier had shattered. They were all the future hope of the Tao family. Jian Chen laughed at the sky. Tao Jingtian, didn't you treat my Turtle Clan the same way 3 days ago? It would be rude of me to not return the favor. I just want to return the method that your Tao family used to deal with my Turtle Clan. And this is just the beginning. Chapter 1235, Battle Between Two Clans, 3, Tao Jingtian became pale white because of what Jian Chen had said. His killing intent inside was so heavy that it had reached his limits. He yelled, "Ruler of the Turtle Clan, I swear to the heavens that I will reduce you to nothing. You will regret living. I will make you pay a heavy price for what you did today." Ha ha ha, I have never regretted anything I've done. Tao Jingtian, you may be stronger than me right now, but you still don't have the right to reduce me to nothing with your strength, sneered Jian Chen. He immediately swung his emperor armament with lightning-like speed, shooting out 5 strands of powerful, black sword qi. Within a single moment, Tao Jingtian easily dodged Jian Chen's 5 sword qi. Although the sword qi failed to hit him, they continued on without slowing at all. They caught up with 5 saint rulers of the Tao family who were currently fleeing, impaling their bodies and vanishing. Arg! The 5 saint rulers all howling in agony as their faces distorted. It seemed like they were suffering from excruciating torture. However, they stopped crying out after a few seconds. Soon after their silence, their eyes blanked out since the black sword qi had reached their souls, dissipating them. Although Tao Zhengtian placed all his attention on Jian Chen, he knew exactly what was happening in the surroundings. He saw how the Jian Chen's sword qi had perfectly hit the 5 saint rulers. It was impossible for him to not understand that Jian Chen's sword qi was not targeting him, but the saint rulers of his clan. Tao Zhengtian immediately roared out in anger. He began to wildly attack Jian Chen with his lance since his hatred for Jian Chen reached the absolute limit. Although his clan was large, one of the strongest clans in the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall, they only had around a dozen saint rulers. It was a devastating loss to lose 5 saint rulers in one stroke. Tao Zhengtian's lance and Jian Chen's emperor armament had turned into blurs as they swung them. The two weapons collided from time to time, erupting with violent booms. Powerful streams of energy and residual sword qi were launched in all directions, creating huge, bottomless pits as they struck the ground. A few wounds had already appeared on Jian Chen's body, dyeing his clothes red with blood. Even though he was injured, his battle prowess did not decrease, and instead, it became even mightier the more he fought. At the same time, he rapidly circulated chaotic force within his body, which not only stabilized his condition in an extremely short amount of time, but also allowed his wounds to rapidly close up. Jian Chen really was not Tao Zhengtian's opponent, but it was basically impossible for Tao Zhengtian to kill him. Heavily injuring him or dealing a fatal blow to Jian Chen was impossible in a short amount of time. At this moment, another dazzling stream of golden light flickered. Tai Ta swept through the air with his axe, swinging it toward the 3rd heavenly layer Saint King. Before it had even struck its target, the supreme battle intent hidden inside collided against the Saint King's soul like a great warhammer, shattering his courage in battle and stunning him for a moment. In that moment, the golden light disappeared with a flash. The axe had already cleaved through the head of the Saint King, obliterating his soul. Even his body had been chopped into 2 by Tai Ta. Blood sprayed into the air and fell like rain. Tai Ta smoothly removed the Saint King's space ring before immediately moving away. With a flash of golden light, he had disappeared, appearing next to Nubis in a moment. Nubis' opponent was a Saint King of the 4th heavenly layer. He possessed the same strength as Nubis, but as Nubis was a beast of antiquity, there was rarely anyone who could match up to him within the same level of cultivation. Although it was very difficult for him to kill someone like that in such a short amount of time, he had heavily injured his opponent with his poison. He was poisoned by the venom of a silver-striped golden snake, which was extremely potent. Coupled with Nubis' strength as a 4th heavenly layer Saint King, the venom was countless times more powerful than before. Even Saint Kings were likely to suffer death if they were poisoned and did not do something about it soon. Big fellow, I can finish him. He can't last much longer, so don't worry about me. Go help the others. Nubis obviously knew what Tai Ta wanted to do when he saw him arrive by his side. He hurriedly informed Tai Ta of the situation. Nubis, Jian Chen said that we need to finish off as many Saint Kings in the shortest amount of time as possible, or we'll have no chance once Tao Zhengtian pulls out his divine haul. Let me finish him off quickly, and then you can immediately go help out Jian Chen against Tao Zhengtian, Tai Ta said with his deep voice. Alright, I'll leave this person to you, big fellow. I'll go help out Jian Chen. Nubis still ended up abiding by what Tai Ta said. He passed his enemy to Tai Ta and immediately went up to assist Jian Chen against Tao Zhengtian. The Tao family had a total of 2 Saint Kings. The first one was Tao Zhengtian while the second one was Tao Lin. In his battle against Nubis, Tao Lin had been poisoned, resulting in an abrupt drop in strength and then suffered a few attacks from Nubis. He was already heavily injured, and just when he could not last much longer, his opponent changed from Nubis, who was only a little stronger than him, to the terrifying Tai Ta, making his heart sink. Although he had never clashed with Tai Ta before, he had witnessed Tai Ta killing off 2 Saint Kings with ease. Probably even Tao Zhengtian was unable to accomplish something so glorious, so how was it possible for him to last very long in front of Tai Ta while he was heavily injured? At that moment, Tao Lin's fear for Tai Ta reached an absolute limit. He had no interest in fighting Tai Ta, so he turned around and fled as quickly as possible. Tai Ta became slightly stunned by how Tao Lin fled. However, he soon smiled in a straightforward manner, "You can't run from me." Mysteries of War, Celestial Movement. With that, Tai Ta vanished with a flash of golden light. He had basically reappeared the next moment several thousand meters away. Not only was he ahead of Tao Lin, who had turned to flee, he just happened to stop right in front of him. Tao Lin was surprised by how Tai Ta had appeared in front of him like teleportation. Disbelief filled his face, but before he could do anything, a dazzling, golden light appeared in his eyes. He saw Tai Ta's axe swing toward him as it glowed with an endless luster. Just when he wanted to dodge, the supreme battle intent smashed against his soul like a hammer, making it feel like thunder had erupted in his head. Not only did it shatter all his courage for battle, it jolted him to the point where he became dumbstruck. The supreme battle intent from the axe was casually given off by Tai Ta. He did not use all his strength intentionally. Tao Lin was stronger than the two Saint Kings Tai Ta had killed before, so his soul was stronger as well. As a result, he obviously possessed better resistance. Just as Tai Ta's axe was about to land on him, Tao Lin suddenly stirred. As he stared at the rapidly expanding axe in front of him, he immediately paled in fright and placed his trident before him without a second thought. Ding! The trident split in half as it blocked Tai Ta's strike. The great force blew Tao Lin away, who heavily struck the ground below, forming a great crater. His entire body was wedged into the ground as blood shot out. Tai Ta did not plan on letting Tao Lin go. He immediately chased him with his golden axe. Tao Lin. Tao Zhengtian sensed that Tao Lin's life was in danger, so he furiously roared at the sky. He forced Jianchen away with a full-powered attack before charging toward Tao Lin in attempt to save him. Tao Lin was a Saint King of the Tao family and had deep ties with Tao Zhengtian. Tao Zhengtian could watch indifferently as the Saint Kings of other clans fell, but he could not allow the Saint Kings of the Tao family to die right before him. Nubis charged over from afar in an aggressive manner to block Tao Zhengtian's path. He sneered, "Tao Zhengtian, allow me, the great Nubis, to understand your strength." With that, Nubis spat out a grey cloud of venomous gas while his hands turned into powerful claws. They were rather similar to Rui Jin's dragon claws. He then clawed at Tao Zhengtian's chest. A vast energy surged from Tao Zhengtian, instantly forming a 3-inch thick barrier of energy around him. It blocked Nubis' venomous gas while his claws became abnormally slow when they came in contact with the barrier. "Piss off!" Tao Zhengtian angrily roared, hurling his palm at Nubis. It knocked Nubis away and caused him to vomit blood. Tao Zhengtian then shot toward Tao Lin with lightning-like speed to save him. Tai Ta understood Tao Zhengtian's intentions. He finally became slightly stern as he gripped his axe with two hands. Bright golden light quickly began to gather around the axe as the battle intent within rapidly skyrocketed. Mysteries of War, Void Smasher. Tai Ta mumbled deeply as he suddenly swung the axe above his head. A streak of dazzling, golden light disappeared into the void. Tao Zhengtian hurried toward Tao Lin without paying attention to anything, but at that moment, his expression suddenly changed. Just when he was 3 meters away, a dazzling streak of golden light seemed to appear out of nowhere, cleaving toward him with lightning-like speed. At the same time, a supreme battle intent suddenly erupted, slamming against his soul like a huge hammer. The battle intent was many times more powerful than what Tao Lin had experienced. Caught off guard, Tao Zhengtian immediately let his attention slip. However, he was a peak 8th heavenly layer Saint King after all, so both the strength of his soul and power was incomparable to Tao Lin. He basically returned to his senses in a single moment, and without any hesitation, he immediately stabbed out as hard as he could. Thus, his lance collided with Tai Ta's axe. Boom! A deafening sound immediately erupted in the air. Although Tao Zhengtian had managed to block Tai Ta's axe with his hurried strike, he retreated uncontrollably from the violent residual energy. He became disheveled while his clothes became a mess. He was in an extremely horrible condition. Chapter 1236, A stalemate of divine halls. Tao Zhengtian stabilized himself after traveling 1,000 meters. He stared in shock at Tai Ta, who was bathed in golden light, as disbelief filled his face. He could feel that Tai Ta was not very powerful, having not reached the 16th star, but he was able to deliver such a terrifying attacks at will with his level of cultivation. His attacks also seemed to possess wondrous effects that attacked the soul. This was the first time he had ever come across something like this. At the same time, he understood that if it were not for the fact that he was at the peak of the 8th heavenly layer and that his soul was much more powerful, he definitely would not have been able to react under the barrage of the battle intent within the axe so quickly. In that crucial moment, if he had reacted slightly slower, he would not have just been knocked away. He would have been heavily injured at the very least. Just where did this person come from? And what heaven-defying cultivation method does he practice? Tao Zhengtian exclaimed inside. Tao Zhengtian found it very abnormal for such a terrifying expert to be unknown in the sea realm. However, before Tao Zhengtian could think of anything else, Jian Chen rushed over from afar. He stabbed at Tao Zhengtian as a layer of chaotic force wrapped around his emperor armament, sticking to Tao Zhengtian firmly and preventing him from assisting other saint kings. Tao Zhengtian, taste my saint tier battle skill. Nubis called out as vast energy coiled around his surroundings. His arms moved in a wondrous pattern as he cast his modified saint tier battle skill. Nubis was currently pale white. He had been quite heavily injured when he had been blown away by Tao Zhengtian's palm strike. However, he was still a beast of antiquity. Although his body was not as powerful as Jian Chen's chaotic body, it was still extremely tough. His injuries were not enough to influence his battle prowess. It was clearly quite a big deal for Nubis to cast his saint tier battle skill. He was unable to use it instantaneously with his strength as a 4th heavenly layer Saint King, so he needed a few seconds to charge up. A layer of dense, golden energy rapidly surged out of his body, coiling around him as it rotated. The color was the same as the energy used by Tai Ta, but that was only the appearance. In reality, the two energies were completely different. They weren't anywhere close to being the same. Soaring draconic serpent. Nubis furiously roared as the golden energy around him froze at that moment. It turned into a huge, golden dragon that coiled around him, and with a clear roar, the snake-like dragon took to the air. A great pressure surged toward Tao Zhengtian, acting against him while he battled Jian Chen. Nubis' Saint Tier battle skill had already reached the 7th heavenly layer, but Tao Zhengtian still managed to deal with both the battle skill and Jian Chen in an extremely composed manner. Each time he stabbed out with his lance, the golden dragon would be cleaved in half. However, Nubis' Saint Tier battle skill contained a shred of the silver-striped golden snake's essence, so it was clearly different from other battle skills. Before the golden dragon could dissipate after it had been split in half, it reformed in an extremely short amount of time, continuing toward Tao Zhengtian with the same amount of force as before. On the other side, Tai Ta had already arrived by the crater that Tao Lin had formed. He mercilessly swung his axe of golden light, ending Tao Lin's life. Tao Zhengtian violently jerked with Tao Lin's death as a sliver of sorrow crossed his face. He wanted to help, but he was caught in a busy scuffle with Jian Chen and Nubis. Tai Ta was so close to Tao Lin as well. He would not have been able to make it even if he had pulled out his divine haul. As a result, he could only watch helplessly as Tao Lin died before his eyes. Tai Ta took away Tao Lin's space ring before arriving beside Qing Yishuan. He said with his deep but gentle voice, "Leave this to me. Go help Jian Chen." Qing Yishuan said nothing. She nodded before handing her opponent to Tai Ta, charging towards Tao Jingtian. Tao Jingtian finally felt slightly pressured when Qing Yishuan joined in. The Saint Kings on his side were rapidly dying. There would be one extra Saint King on the Turtle Clan's side to come deal with him after every death. Once the battle became drawn out, he would gain more and more opponents, and it would become even more difficult for him to face all of them. Tao Jingtian knew he could not continue like this when he arrived at that conclusion. The longer he lasted, the more casualties his side would suffer. On the other hand, although there were some people who had become injured on the Turtle Clan's side, none of them had died. All the people of the Tao family, enter the Divine Hall immediately. Tao Jingtian called out as a sound wave erupted through the battle between the Saint Kings. It echoed within a radius of 100 kilometers. A simple Divine Hall was thrown into the air by Tao Jingtian. It became a huge, majestic hall in the blink of an eye in the incoming wind. It radiated with a desolate presence and was covered by marks left behind by time. Clearly, it had existed for a very long time already. The Divine Hall immediately produced an extremely heavy boom when it struck the ground. The entire place shook violently as the Divine Hall's door swung open. It stood like a tough fortress and blocked all the violent energies that swept through the sky. It created a region of safety around the Divine Hall. The scattered, terrified clansmen, who were dodging the streams of energy, seemed like they had seen a ray of hope and charged into the Divine Hall as quickly as they could. A dazzling golden light radiated through the air. Tai Ta swung his axe with great force toward a black-robed old man in front of him. The old man was a Saint King of the 5th heavenly layer, but he had already become heavily injured from his fight with Qing Yishuan. As a result, he did not have any power to resist Tai Ta's powerful swing. At the moment he had become dazed from the supreme battle intent, the golden axe cleaved his head in half. 4 of the 9 Saint Kings within the alliance had been slain by Tai Ta with lightning-like speed, and the remaining 5 held their ground with difficulty. However, all of them were extremely stern without exception. They no longer revealed the great confidence they had showed earlier. Meanwhile, the ancestor of the Mashi clan regretted his actions inside. If he had known that the Turtle clan was so powerful earlier, he would never have agreed to the marriage with the Tao family, much less work with the Tao family against the Turtle clan. His Mashi clan had suffered severely from the conflict with the Turtle clan since one of the Saint Kings slain by Tai Ta was a part of his clan. Enter the Divine Hall. Tao Jingtian bellowed with a sunken expression. He was not carried away by his battle. He swung his lance as hard as he could, forcing back Jian Chen and Qing Yishuan. Afterward, he retreated, disappearing in the Divine Hall with a flash. The 4 other Saint Kings in the alliance did not tarry either, entering the Divine Hall at the same time as Tao Jingtian, moving as quickly as they could. The Divine Hall's door suddenly slammed shut and the structure rose up from the ground, quickly reaching an altitude of 1,000 kilometers. Ancestor, let us in. Over 1,000 clansmen of the Tao family had failed to enter the Divine Hall in time. They all began to plead as despair filled their faces. A few clever people immediately turned around to flee into the distance when they saw that there was no hope of entering the Divine Hall. They wanted to avoid the pursuit of the Turtle clan experts as well as the energy ripples from the battle. Tao Jingtian did not leave as he controlled the Divine Hall. Instead, the Divine Hall rapidly fell onto Jian Chen and the others. He wanted to use the toughness of his Divine Hall to deal with the 8 of them. Jian Chen coldly smiled when he realized what Tao Jingtian was trying to do. Tao Jingtian, do you think you're the only one with a Divine Hall? The Octaterra Divine Hall had appeared in Jian Chen's hands and transformed into a gigantic structure instantly. It was no smaller than Tao Jingtian's Divine Hall. Jian Chen, Nubis, Tai Ta, Qing Yishuan, Tai Do, Lan Jing, Xian Pian, and Mokas all charged into the Divine Hall. Under Jian Chen's control, the Divine Hall quickly charged into the sky. It moved like a streak of light, and by the looks of it, it looked to be flying toward the Tao family's divine hall. Although the Octaterra divine hall had been beaten to ruins by Kaiser, it could repair automatically. After so much time, it had recovered by at least 80% even though it had not completely returned to how it had been before, and it seemed fine from the outside. Boom! With a violent sound, the two divine halls brutally collided in the air. The great force created from the collision knocked the two of them away. The two divine halls remained in perfect condition. The violent collision had not even left a scratch on them. The divine halls hovered at a high altitude in unison after clashing once. They both knew that neither of them could do anything to the other unless they were in possession of a Saint Emperor's strength. Ruler of the Turtle Clan, I never thought you'd have a divine hall as well. Tao Jingtian's cold voice rang from his divine hall. Jian Chen appeared silently on the highest point of the Octaterra divine hall. He coldly stared at the Tao family's divine hall 1,000 meters away and responded with, "Tao Jingtian, I still can't break through your divine hall today, so it ends here. However, this by no means resolves the enmity between your Tao family and my Turtle Clan. When I gain the power that can break through the divine hall, the experts of the Turtle Clan will come visiting again." Chapter 1237, Emissary of the Heaven Spirit Hall. You sure put it lightly. The only way for you to smash through my divine hall is to break through to the 17th star and become an emperor. Ruler of the Turtle Clan, I must admit that I've underestimated the strength of your clan, but it's impossible for you to become an emperor. Tao Jingtian's icy cold voice reverberated from the divine hall. It was filled with scorn. How could reaching the level of emperors be that easy? Even Tao Jingtian, who was about to become a hall elder, did not yearn for such a level of strength. Jian Chen sneered, "It's not up to you to decide whether I can become an emperor or not. The next time I visit your Tao family will be the day I smash your divine hall." With that, Jian Chen controlled the divine hall and flew away. He picked up the elders of the Turtle Clan, who were hiding several dozen kilometers away, and returned to the clan. Jian Chen knew that Tao Jingtian possessed a divine hall, so wiping out the Tao family was impossible. He still was not in possession of the power to destroy divine halls. What he did today was to collect some of the debt the Tao family owed the Turtle Clan and to make the alliance pay a certain price for the disaster they had caused several days ago. The divine hall vanished into the horizon with the experts of the Turtle Clan. Only after confirming that they would not return did Tao Jingtian put away his divine hall. However, only the 5 Saint Kings who had managed to survive left the divine hall. Tao Jingtian dared not let out the clansmen who had entered, afraid that Jian Chen would take revenge on them. Tao Jingtian silently hovered in the air with the 4 other experts as they stared at the land of the Tao family that had been reduced to ruins. They were all gloomy and their emotions were heavy. The corpses of the people from the Tao family were littered everywhere in the messy ruins. These people had all died from the great ripples of battle that had appeared in the battle between the Saint Kings, and among the corpses were close to 10 saint rulers. Tao Jingtian slowly glanced over the ruins as his face darkened. His hands creaked from how hard he clenched them as flames of fury burned within him along with deep regret. His clan had lost far too much during that battle. Over half of the clansmen had died and barely any elites were left. Even 2/3 of the saint rulers had died along with Tao Lin, who was a Saint King. Compared to the Tao family, the losses of the Turtle Clan were nothing. After all, their core power still existed. We judged the Turtle Clan's strength incorrectly. We never thought that they were actually so powerful. The Turtle Clan will not just let this matter go like this. My Tai clan does not have a divine hall. Tao Jingtian, I need to return to my clan immediately and find a way to avoid the revenge of the Turtle Clan, Tai Tongyi informed him with a heavy voice. I must immediately return to sort this out as well, or the Turtle Clan can easily wipe out my Cayenne clan with the strength they've displayed, said the ancestor of the Cayenne clan. His face was rather pale, and he felt extremely regretful over what he had taken part in. If he had known that the Turtle Clan was this powerful before, he would have politely handed over the crystal mines he had taken from the Turtle Clan. Sai, the ancestor of the Moshi clan, exhaled as worry filled his face as well. He was constantly berating himself inside. Originally, his clan had nothing to do with the whole matter, but he was greedy for the resources the Turtle Clan possessed, so he agreed to the marriage with the Tao family, causing him to join with the Tao family to handle the Turtle Clan. It's all because of my greed, the ancestor sighed inside. With everything how it was now, he knew that his clan had already become tied with the Tao family. Regret was already useless. Everyone, we've become complete enemies of the Turtle Clan. Fleeing is completely useless. The Turtle Clan will never let us go. Let's fuse our clans together for now and protect ourselves with my divine hall. We can slowly develop a plan to deal with the Turtle Clan later, said Tao Jingtian. He knew that the experts around him represented an extremely great force. They were a great resource for dealing with the Turtle Clan, so he needed to make them stay no matter what. After considering their choices, the other Saint Kings all nodded before returning to their clans to make some preparations. Afterward, they sent the elite forces of their clans as well as their direct descendants to the Tao family. All the clansmen who had not been sent to the Tao family were dismissed, making them hide themselves in various places around the Sea Realm. It was no longer their problem if the people of the Turtle Clan decided to hunt them down or not. A huge, majestic divine hall stood quietly in the very center of the Heaven Spirit Hall's territory. The divine hall was a supreme existence within the land because it was where the ruler resided. At this moment, an illusionary, middle-aged man sat on a throne in the highest, most well-decorated room of the hall. He was an image projected by a powerful soul and not the person himself. A capable old man knelt beneath him. Hall Master, I have returned from investigating things on the Tian Yuan continent. That person's name is Jian Chen, and he is extremely well known on the Tian Yuan continent. He is an unprecedented prodigy, having reached Saint Ruler in less than 50 years of cultivation. In the end, because of matters due to the ancient beast god, he suffered the pursuit of the emperors from the beast god continent, which was why he hid in the Sea Realm. During that time, he assisted the Dare tribe in dealing with the Menghuang tribe and happened to slay the emissary of the serpent god Hall who was in possession of the abyssal crystal. He obtained the crystal from there and fled into the territory of the sea goddess Hall. He then ended up with the ruler's chi of the Turtle Clan for some unknown reason and becoming their ruler. The illusionary man on the throne frowned slightly. Although the winged tiger god was an ancient beast god that could possibly surpass Saint Emperor, all of it had nothing to do with the Sea Realm. What truly intrigued him was how Jian Chen possessed the ruler's chi of the Turtle Clan when he was clearly a human. The old man continued, I've just received recent news that Jian Chen has been appearing on the Tian Yuan continent from time to time, and his strength has increased to the level of a Saint King. However, he also appears from time to time in the Sea Realm and has even ventured into the dangerous Divine Realm. However, the barrier that guards the Sea Realm only allows outsiders that are below Saint King to enter. Once they reach Saint King, their entry will be denied after they leave, but this Jian Chen seems to be able to pass through it at will, as if the barrier's restriction of strength is completely unless against him. I originally believed that the Jian Chen who had appeared on the Tian Yuan continent and the ruler of the Turtle Clan were two different people, but when I had analyzed when Jian Chen and the ruler of the Turtle Clan appeared and disappeared, they matched up perfectly, to my surprise. Every time Jian Chen appears on the Tian Yuan continent, the ruler of the Turtle Clan would vanish and vice versa. Even more importantly, Jian Chen's increases in strength actually match up perfectly with the ruler of the Turtle Clan. When Jian Chen sought refuge in the Sea Realm, he was just a saint ruler, and the ruler back then was the same. Afterward, the Jian Chen from the Tian Yuan continent reached Saint King, and the ruler of the Turtle Clan mirrored the action closely. This is why I suspect the two of them to be the same person. The Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall deeply smiled and said, "Other than that, even his name and appearance is the exact same. There's no need for any more guessing. They're definitely the same person. If I've guessed correctly, the ruler's chi that's appeared on Jian Chen for no reason should explain why he can freely pass through the barrier of the sea realm." The old man knelt on the ground courteously as he remained silent. The Hall Master waved his hand, "You are dismissed, and send an emissary to the Turtle Clan in the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. Tell him that I have invited him to my Heaven Spirit Hall as a guest." "Yes, Hall Master." In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed since the battle of the Turtle Clan and the Tao family. During those 5 days, Jian Chen led a group of experts from the Turtle Clan to visit all the clans that had allianced themselves with the Tao family. Jian Chen ruthlessly wiped out the upper echelon, elites and direct descendants of the clans that had taken part in the attack against the Turtle Clan, leaving behind a few innocent mercenaries and servants who were free to go. Not only did the Turtle Clan take back all the crystal mines they had lost several days ago, they even obtained a large number of crystal coins and valuable items from these clans. Other than the large clans that the 4 Saint Kings belonged to, which were cleared out, all the other clans and organizations either dispersed or were wiped out. Their names completely disappeared from the sea realm. Even the Great Moshi clan was reduced to an empty shell. All the items that could be taken away were taken away, while the direct descendants and the upper echelon had completely vanished. All that was left was a few people of lower statuses. Jian Chen knew that the Moshi clan and the 3 other clans had abandoned the bases that they had erected with much effort. They had all led their experts and elites to join up with the Tao family. Jian Chen did not really care in regard to this. He could not wipe out the Tao family right now, so it was nothing even if he let them exist for a few more days. Once he obtained the power to destroy the divine hall of the Tao family, he would completely finish resolving their enmity. The battle between the Turtle Clan and Tao family had already swept through the entire territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. All the people were shocked by the Turtle Clan's strength. At the same time, all the great clans within the territory began to deeply fear them. On this day, Jian Chen was discussing the future developments of the clan with the elders of the Turtle Clan. A guard suddenly ran in and dropped to one knee. "Ruler, the Heaven Spirit Hall has sent an emissary. He has said that he was sent by their Hall Master. The Hall Master wants to meet the ruler." Chapter 1238, Houston becomes a Saint Emperor. What? The Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall has sent an emissary? Jian Chen was stunned by the guard's report. The Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall was one of the 3 rulers of the Sea Realm. He was a Saint Emperor, so why would someone as great as him send an emissary to the Turtle Clan as well as say that he wanted to see him? Jian Chen did not have any connections with the Hall Master. "Invite the emissary into the guest room," Jian Chen said to the guard after thinking a little. The guard left as ordered while Jian Chen put his meeting with the elders on hold. He then made his way to the guest room. The emissary was already waiting in the guest room. There were a total of 3 people, and the leading person was an ordinary-looking old man. He was dressed in a simple fashion while his eyes shone with gleams of light from time to time. 2 extremely burly men in tight robes stood behind the old man. Their uncovered, thick arms would flicker with weak, blue light from time to time. Both of them possessed deep blue skin. Jian Chen was slightly surprised when he glanced over the 3 of them. He could tell with a single glance that the seated old man was a 3rd heavenly layer Saint King, while the 2 middle-aged men behind him were 9th heavenly layer Saint Rulers. The emissary sent by the Heaven Spirit Hall is a Saint King and his followers are 9th heavenly layer Saint Rulers. What extravagance, Jian Chen thought inside. The emissary immediately stood from his seat when he saw Jian Chen. He clasped his hands at Jian Chen with a smile. "I am Hu Bai, and I greet the ruler of the Turtle Clan." "You are far too polite, emissary Hu Bai. Please sit," Jianchen politely replied with a smile before sitting opposite of Hu Bai. He asked for his well-being out of politeness before approaching the main topic. May I ask why you've come from so far away to my turtle clan? The Sea Goddess Hall, Heaven Spirit Hall, and Serpent God Hall had an agreement. All members of the halls were not allowed to trespass each other's territory without explicit permission. Although Hu Bai belonged to the Heaven Spirit Hall, he had come to the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall as an emissary. As long as he did not cause trouble here, he would obviously be able to pass through smoothly. Ruler, I've come under the orders of the Great Hall Master to pass on a message. The Great Hall Master has personally invited the ruler to our Heaven Spirit Hall as a guest. Ruler, so, Hu Bai said amicably as gave a positive smile. He was very polite. Jianchen frowned slightly. He had no ties with the Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall. He had even visited the Heaven Spirit Hall to cause trouble once, but it was resolved when a Hall Elder of the Heaven Spirit Hall told Lan Jing, Xian Pian, and Mokas to follow him. He could not agree no matter what if the Hall Master of the Heaven Spirit Hall wanted him to visit. This was because he was only safe in the Sea Goddess Hall among the 3 territories. Jianchen immediately displayed a slightly troubled expression when he thought up to there. He said, Emissary Hu Bai, please help me bring back a message to your esteemed Hall Master. My clan has undergone conflict with the Tao family recently and we are suffering from significant losses, so I still have many matters to deal with. I really can't make the time, but if I really am able in the future, I will definitely pay a visit to the Heaven Spirit Hall. Jianchen really meant it when he said he would pay a visit, but that would only be once he was powerful enough to deal with Saint Emperors. At that time, he would definitely pay a visit to the Heaven Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall, the Serpent God Hall in particular. He had yet to clear his debt from back then with them. The emissary had obviously heard of the news between the Turtle Clan and the Tao family's alliance, so he did not doubt what Jianchen had said. Also, he was unsure what the connection between the Hall Master and Jianchen was, so he dared not to do anything that could offend Jianchen. As a result, he stood up with a smile and clasped his hands. Sure. The Turtle Clan has just gone through a battle, so there are obviously countless miscellaneous matters to deal with. Ruler, I've already delivered the message, so my mission is complete. I should return, so I'll stop wasting the ruler's precious time. Farewell. Farewell. Jianchen also stood up and saw Hu Bai off personally. He then continues the meeting with the Turtle Clan discussing the future developments. After the meeting, Jianchen went nowhere. He passed down images of the materials needed for the azulate swords to people so they could search the entire sea realm before entering seclusion himself. He continued to work hard on absorbing the almost invalid monster cores to increase his strength while he waited for the arrival of the worldly ebb. 2 days later, Hu Bai reported what Jianchen had said to the Hall Master without missing a single detail in the gigantic divine hall of the Heaven Spirit Hall. The Hall Master remained as a projection of the soul. After listening to Hu Bai's report, he frowned slightly and dismissed Hu Bai with a wave of his hand. He mumbled to himself, the ruler of the Turtle Clan has actually made up an excuse against me. Looks like inviting him over really will be quite difficult. Do I have to visit him personally? With that, the Hall Master sank deep into thought. He remained silent for quite some time. An old man in hemp clothing currently sat in a cave within a mountain in a huge, desolate mountain range on the Tianyuan continent. A dense red mist permeated his surroundings, and it was sticky like blood. It would pulse from time to time like a heart, churning violently at other times as if a dragon was stirring. The old man was Houston. After obtaining the Empyrean Demon Orb from Jianchen, he had left Longevity Valley and found a desolate mountain range with scarce energy of the world to enter seclusion. He was trying to break through to Saint Emperor. At this moment, the red mist around Houston came to a sudden stop, as if the beating heart had come to a halt. It all stopped moving. However, this only lasted for several seconds. Suddenly, a terrifying presence that seemed to be enough to destroy the surroundings began to radiate from him. The presence was extremely powerful and destroyed the cave. The entire mountain cracked open as countless pieces of rock flew in all directions. Houston felt nothing. He sat unmoving like a mountain, floating in the air unaffected by gravity. Wild wind whistled past, but it could not blow him away. Meanwhile, his terrifying presence engulfed the entire mountain range. An even stickier blood-red mist radiated from Houston's body before turning into a tornado that quickly revolved around him. As it spun, the dense and sticky mist would rapidly grow deeper in color and became more consolidated. It was taking a qualitative leap bit by bit at a visible rate. A mass of colorful clouds had already appeared in the sky that was originally a deep blue. The clouds actually contained 9 colors. They were the 9-colored rainbow clouds that rarely ever appeared on the Tianyuan continent. With the mountain range as its center, the clouds expanded silently in all directions at an unbelievable rate. In just half a minute, the clouds enveloped the entire continent. At that moment, everyone across the continent stopped what they were doing. They looked at the sky in curiosity, staring at the silent, colorful clouds in the sky. Very few people knew what was happening. In the various cities on the Tianyuan continent, both the hurried or feasting mercenaries and merchants were standing on the street without any exceptions. They all pointed at the 9-colored rainbow clouds and discussed them. No one knew what was happening. However, different rumors appeared in every place very soon. Some people said that the 9-colored clouds were an omen of great fortune. The continent was about to change and be united by a powerful empire or organization, creating a whole new empire. There were some other people who said that a spiritual item of the world or some great treasure was about to come into existence with the 9-colored clouds. There were even others who said that the clouds were an omen of disaster, that an unprecedented calamity was about to happen to the Tianyuan continent, bad enough to destroy the world. All the saint rulers and saint kings who stayed in the miniature world within Mercenary City received the news. They made their way out as soon as possible and raised their heads at the sky, staring blankly. The people with the lowest standings on the continent had no idea what the rainbow clouds meant. However, the meaning behind the clouds was no secret to a few saint rulers and knowledgeable heaven saint masters. On the Tianyuan continent, all the heaven saint masters who broke through to saint ruler would produce rainbow clouds. However, the area covered would be tiny and there would only be 5 colors. Rainbow clouds would also appear when reaching Saint King. The colors would increase to 7 and cover an even larger area. If a Saint King broke through to Saint Emperor, 9 colored lights on clouds would descend from the sky, enveloping the entire continent. The saint rulers and saint kings in Mercenary City all knew from the 9-colored clouds that a second saint emperor would be appearing after the Path Lord of Carnal Desires on the Tianyuan continent. Who is it? Just who has become a saint emperor? A saint king elder hovered above Mercenary City and wondered in excitement while staring at the 9-colored clouds. His voice trembled and contained unhidable envy and yearning. Someone has actually broken through the last step to become a saint emperor in this age that lacks saint emperors. He must be someone extremely outstanding. I just wonder who he is. Is he Great Elder Tianjian or a member of the Protector clans? Another saint king asked with mixed emotions in Mercenary City. Chapter 1239. Congratulations from everywhere. Great Elder Tianjian has reached the great perfection of Saint King for many years now, but he has never been able to overcome the final barrier. He's now approaching the end of his life with only 100 years left. Just a while ago, Great Elder Tianjian suddenly stepped down from his position and left Mercenary City in search of a breakthrough to Saint Emperor, yet the 9-colored rainbow clouds have descended now. This is the sign that someone has reached Saint Emperor. Is it really Great Elder Tianjian? The speaker was a ruddy old man. He used to be the second elder of Mercenary City, but after Tianjian stepped down, he was elevated to Grand Elder. He was now the most authoritative person in the city, possessing strength at the 9th heavenly layer and was not too far from reaching great perfection. Meanwhile, Tianjian became a great elder of Mercenary City after having resigned from his post. Great Elder Tianjian has only left the city recently. I don't think he's broken through to Saint Emperor is such a short amount of time, said a red-robed, middle-aged man. He was a Saint King Elder of the city. The number of Saint Kings currently at great perfection on the continent can be counted on fingers. Even if we include those independent cultivators who spend all their time hidden away in the mountains, there's less than 20. As for Great Elder Tianjian, his talent is extremely great, and he's read the cultivation experiences and knowledge of many Saint Emperor predecessors of Mercenary City. It's extremely likely for him to reach Saint Emperor. He might have left the city in such a manner to find something to trigger his breakthrough, said a skinny, extremely ordinary-looking Saint King Elder. He felt unhideable admiration for Tianjian. At this moment, the new Grand Elder said, "All right, let's stop guessing here. In a while, once the person who's breaking through completely consolidates his cultivation, it will lead to a pulsing of the mysteries of the world that will spread across the entire continent. All we need to do is find the epicenter of the pulsing and then we'll know who's broken through." The 9-colored clouds had enveloped the entire continent. Although the sight had caused a great commotion as well as some fear among the weaker people of the continent, the matter influenced all the knowledgeable saint rulers and saint kings the most. All the saint kings on the continent struggled to maintain their calm as they all stared at the colorful clouds in excitement. Extremely great envy and yearning poured from their gazes. They were all curious to know just who had advanced. 10,000 kilometers away from the city of God, a wooden hut stood alone on the highest peak of the mountain range. The wind whistled wildly there, producing sounds like sobs, but it could not sway the wooden hut at all. At this moment, Hao Wu was standing with his arms crossed outside the hut. He stared at the clouds that had enveloped the entire world in interest as he mumbled, "Someone's finally broken through to Saint Emperor on the continent again." Hao Wu's eyes twinkled, revealing a sliver of envy and yearning as well. The realm of Saint Emperors was an irresistible enticement to all Saint Kings. However, he seemed to think of something soon afterward. The yearning in his eyes disappeared. It was replaced by a sliver of loneliness and deep sorrow. He turned around and entered the wooden hut, sitting next to the bed as he held Zartsayun's white hand. He emotionally said, "I don't wish to reach Saint Emperor in this life. Only Kaiyun can wake up sooner." Zartsayun's situation had been caused by her attempted suicide. She had harmed her soul and sealed herself off, which had not left an injury of the body. As a result, Hao Wu could do nothing since injuries of the soul were the most difficult to deal with. The 9-colored clouds covered the sky for half a day before a powerful pulse of the mysteries of the world suddenly appeared, rapidly expanding into the distance. The pulsing was at the level of a Saint Emperor and originated from where the person breaking through was. It also symbolized a successful break through to Saint Emperor. "I know where it is now. Let's go take a look." The Grand Elder of Mercenary City called on a group of people and immediately ripped open a space gate before hurrying away with everyone. "We finally know where that person is. Let's go and see just who has broken through." Other than the Changyang clan that had been sealed up, all the Saint Kings from the 9 other clans moved out, heading in the direction of the pulsing together. In this current era, breaking through to Saint Emperor on the Tianyuan continent was a huge matter. Thus, the identity of the person was extremely important to the continent. His affiliations could affect the future of the continent to a certain degree. If he was affiliated with the good, it would obviously be something worth celebrating over for the continent, but if he was bad, it could lead to a disaster on the continent. All the Saint Kings in the 3 great empires, in the ancient clans, and the one scattered across the continent had ripped open a space gate and hurried over the moment the pulse reached them, including Changyang Zhu Xiao at the Changyang clan and Changyang Zhu Yun Xiao, who was watching over the royal palace of the Jessen kingdom. Houston remained hovering in the air above the desolate mountain range. The blood-red mist around him had completely disappeared into his body while he radiated with a vast presence. Just the mere presence that he gave off from time to time was enough to make the surrounding space violently shake. It was extremely powerful. When Houston sensed the great powers brought on from breaking through to Saint Emperor, he could not help but sigh emotionally inside. The power of a Saint Emperor was incomparable to Saint Kings at great perfection. Even though he had just broken through, he felt like the current powers he possessed were more than enough to squash a Saint King at great perfection to death with ease. He had learned many shocking secrets from within the Empyrean demon orb after breaking through to Saint Emperor, because he could see an even larger world through the orb. Jian Chen has given me an overwhelming fortune. Saint Emperor is only the beginning of cultivation. The path in the future is still long, Houston thought. Reaching Saint Emperor was something worth being happy over, but Houston remained very calm. The surrounding space suddenly began to pulse as Space Gate after Space Gate appeared. Saint Kings emerged from all of them, and without any exception, all of the Saint Kings had erased their presences. They appeared like ordinary people, and even the Saint Kings from the Protector clans and Mercenary City were like that. In just a few short seconds, over 200 Saint Kings had gathered in the space that had been empty before. All of them focused their gazes on Houston as soon as they emerged from their space gates, no longer able to shift their attention away. All of them understood extremely well that a true Saint Emperor sat before them from the terrifying presence Houston gave off from time to time. "Houston, I never thought that you'd reach Saint Emperor," the Grand Elder of Mercenary City sighed in surprise. He had thought about the people who could have become Saint Emperors earlier, but he definitely did not think that it would be an assassin. After all, the changes from 1,000 years ago had greatly affected Houston. However, the Grand Elder of Mercenary City also felt rather disappointed after confirming who it was. It was actually not Great Elder Tianjian. Congratulations, Sect Master Houston, for reaching Saint Emperor and reaching the apex of the Tian Yuan continent. A second Saint Emperor has finally appeared on our Tian Yuan continent after the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. The Pavilion Master of the Pure Heart Pavilion congratulated Houston first with a smile. Congratulations, Sect Master Houston. Afterward, all the Saint Kings arrived in front of him and congratulated him. Every single one of them bore smiles and spoke in a polite tone. In this era that lacked Saint Emperors, even the Protector clans with deep heritages were unwilling to offend them so easily. "Former Sect Master, why, you've really become a Saint Emperor." An excited voice rang out from behind everyone. The Vice Sect Master of the Bloodsword Sect, Jiang Wang, pushed his way to the front as he excitedly looked at Houston. Jiang Wang's excitement had peaked after learning that it was Houston who had become a Saint Emperor. Houston finally opened his eyes at this moment. He first nodded at Jiang Wang before clasping his hands at the surroundings. "I thank you all for your congratulations." Houston spoke with an extremely calm voice, without any joy or excitement that he should possess after reaching Saint Emperor. Houston has already become a glorious Saint Emperor, having become one of the only two of our continent, yet he's still able to remain so calm. Just this has already surpassed all of us present. No wonder it was Houston who reached Saint Emperor. So his mental state has already reached a level far beyond us, praised a Saint King, which immediately led to the agreement of many people. Houston smiled nonchalantly with that and said, "There is never an end to cultivation. Saint Emperor is only just the beginning, so it's nothing to be proud about. We must understand that there is always someone greater than us elsewhere. We have only been sheltered and ignorant in the past." All the people became stunned with what Houston had said. Saint Emperor was actually just the beginning? If it was someone else who had said that and not Houston, some of the people present would probably have begun cursing them. "Everyone, I still have matters to attend to, so farewell." Houston did not give a detailed explanation. He ripped open a space gate and left. He had learned a lot of information from the Empyrean demon orb with his breakthrough. Not only did he understand that Saint Emperor was just the beginning, he had learned some shockingly powerful secret techniques. Even as a Saint Emperor, he could only use these secret techniques with difficulty. Their levels had surpassed Saint-tier battle skills. 3 days later, Houston consolidated his cultivation as a Saint Emperor and also gained a basic grasp over some of the secret techniques. He then made his way to the Death Nest all by himself. It's here. This is the Death Nest. Weird. Why is the Empyrean Demon Orb constantly telling me that the Death Nest is calling to me? Houston stopped outside the Death Nest and became extremely curious. Chapter 1240, Blood Refining Formation. The Death Nest was filled with yin qi and churned with black mist. Vicious, terrifying faces of ghosts would be conjured from time to time and would roar at the outside world. They wanted to charge out of the Death Nest, but they were trapped inside by the huge barrier that surrounds the nest. No matter how powerful or terrifying the yin qi of the Death Nest was, none of it could leak outside. Houston had completely erased his presence as a Saint Emperor. He stood outside the Death Nest at ease with his hemp clothing and stared into the depths with a flickering light in his eyes. Some confusion and curiosity appeared in his eyes. In his head, the Empyrean Demon Orb's cries became more and more powerful, hurriedly urging Houston into the Death Nest, as if there was something that deeply attracted it inside. Houston was unaffected by the Empyrean Demon Orb. He could suppress the callings, but he did not do that. He knew that the Empyrean Demon Orb was extraordinary and the reason why he could become a Saint Emperor. Houston stood outside in thought for a while before taking a step into the Death Nest. He was now a Saint Emperor, and great confidence came along with his great strength. He believed that even if there was something truly dangerous in the Death Nest, he could still retreat safely. The Death Nest was the same as before. It was teeming with vile energies while the black mist churned constantly. The slightly spongy ground was scarlet red, as if it had been doused by blood. The scattered trees and vegetation swayed in the wind. They seemed like ghosts brandishing their teeth and claws, which made them seem sinister and terrifying. Houston remained the same as before as he calmly walked through the Death Nest. He maintained a straight path throughout, following the cries of the Empyrean Demon Orb as he headed straight for the depths. At this moment, a icy presence churned out of the mist, silently entering Houston's head. Although Houston had sensed it, he did not resist. He allowed the iciness to worm its way into his soul. He wanted to test the power of the icy presence. However, Houston came to a halt the next moment. A sliver of surprise appeared on his face as he said, "This strand of iciness can actually be devoured by the soul-devouring force. It can assist the cultivation of soul-devouring force." Soul-devouring force was also known as baleful yin force. This was something he had learned from the Empyrean Demon Orb. Before, Houston's cultivation method was a modified version of the Empyrean Demon arts that came from the Empyrean Demon Orb. It had been modified by the Blood Demon Emperor and was an incomplete method, which was why soul-devouring force needed to be refined through slaughter and, thus, explained why it was a consumable. Now that Houston had obtained the complete cultivation method, all the energy within him had been transformed into soul-devouring force. Not only was it much more powerful than the baleful yin force he had controlled before, he could create it without slaughter. All he needed to do was absorb the energy of the world and convert it through the Empyrean Demon arts. No wonder the Empyrean Demon Orb wants me to come here. So the Death Nest is like a blessed land to those who practice the Empyrean Demon arts. Houston understood the situation very quickly and immediately began to move faster and faster. For both the Tianyuan continent and the Beast God continent, it was extremely difficult to increase a person's strength once they reached Saint Emperor. Not only was this because of the absence of origin energy, but even the energy of the world was nowhere near as abundant as before. Very few people could reach the peak of Saint Emperor. Houston could already imagine that his strength would skyrocket in the future in a blessed place like the Death Nest. Houston moved faster and faster. Although he seemed like he was taking a casual stroll, he would travel several kilometers with every step. Since he moved very quickly, he did not come across a single Saint Ruler vengeful spirit in the first zone, so he quickly arrived in the second zone. In the second zone, the weakest vengeful spirits were Saint Kings. Before Houston could travel very far, he came across a Saint King vengeful spirit that attacked him from behind as silent as a shadow. Houston did not slow down at all. With a flick of his finger, a red spark shot out and accurately landed on the vengeful spirit. This was soul-devouring force. If it was before, Houston would have never used soul-devouring force so easily because it had been consumable and, hence, was extremely difficult to replenish. But after reaching Saint Emperor with the Empyrean demon arts, all the energy within him had been converted to soul-devouring force. To him, it was only an ordinary energy now and was extremely easily replenished, so he obviously did not mind using it. The vengeful spirit was dissipated by the strand of soul-devouring force. It turned into a dark mist and was no longer able to reform. As Houston moved, he suffered many attacks from Saint King vengeful spirits, but all of them were dissipated by him with a single strand of soul-devouring force without any exception, and they were unable to reform again. Along the way, quite a lot the icy tendrils tried to attack Houston's soul, but they were all refined by his soul-devouring force and became a part of his energy. Although the Death Nest was filled with danger, they formed no threat to him. He passed through the second zone very quickly and arrived in the third. As soon as he stepped into the third zone, an extremely powerful iciness wrapped around Houston from all directions. In the third zone, even Saint Kings at great perfection needed to circulate their saint force to resist the energies with an energy barrier outside, but Houston did not protect himself in any way, shape, or form. He allowed the iciness to worm its way into his body and soul. There was not the slightest discomfort at all, and instead, he felt extremely comfortable. This was because all the iciness that entered his body was converted into his own soul-devouring force. To Houston, who practiced the Empyrean demon arts, not only did the icy presence fail to harm him, it continuously strengthened him instead. It was like a dense energy of the world. Up ahead, two huge demonic figures slowly appeared in the churning mist, charging toward Houston like shadows. Saint Emperor vengeful spirits. Houston could tell the strength of the two figures with a single glance. They were powerful existences that stood at the same level as him. He immediately became serious, and with a flick of his finger, two powerful strands of soul-devouring force shot toward the two figures like swords. The vengeful spirits did not know how to dodge, so they charged at the soul-devouring force. As soon as they came in contact with the energy, they began to tremble violently. Their blurry faces began to distort, indicating pain, and then their bodies quickly faded. In just a few seconds, the two vengeful spirits had disappeared, turning into dull, dark mist that dispersed into the surroundings. Meanwhile, since Houston's two strands of soul-devouring force were too powerful, they continued into the depths of the Death Nest without weakening at all after dissipating the two demonic figures. The churning black mist dissipated wherever they passed by. Can this soul-devouring force suppress these vengeful spirits? Houston was slightly stunned. He was very surprised inside. Before, when he had killed the Saint King's vengeful spirits, he did not discover this because of how much more powerful he was. Now that he was dealing with Saint Emperor vengeful spirits, the effectiveness of soul-devouring force was immediately displayed. However, what Houston did not know was that the two strands of soul-devouring force he had used against the two vengeful spirits were slowly strengthening as they flew. All the black mist they passed by was absorbed by them, constantly strengthening the two strands. The soul-devouring force moved extremely quickly, arriving in the very center of the third zone very soon. Afterward, they dissipated as if they had collided with an invisible wall. At the same time, the entire place trembled slightly. At that moment, some minute changes seemed to happen to the death nest. Houston could obviously sense the changes as well since the calling of the Empyrean demon orb became more and more powerful. This filled him with curiosity as he continued toward the depths. Along the way, Houston came across Saint Emperor vengeful spirits from time to time, but his soul-devouring force was effective against them. No matter how many came, they posed no threat to him. Without much longer, Houston arrived in the center of the third zone. He did not continue on, and instead, he stood around quietly as he constantly examined his surroundings. His brows slowly furrowed as he murmured, "There's a formation hidden within the void here. It seems to be a formation recorded within the Empyrean demon orb, but it's a little different at the same time." Houston sank into his thoughts. A while later, a gleam of light flashed through his eyes as extremely dense soul-devouring force began to radiate from him. It turned into a red mist which extended out. Gradually, the formation hidden in the void appeared in front of Houston. As soon as it had appeared, it sucked away all of Houston's soul-devouring force. The energy seemed to have triggered the formation, and it began to shine with dazzling red light before rotating quickly after absorbing the soul-devouring force. Rumble. At the same time, heavy rumbles constantly rang through the death nest. The ground gently trembled as a hidden formation appeared on the ground. It was extremely large and expanded across the entire death nest. This seems to be the blood-refined formation recorded in the Empyrean demon orb, and it's complete. How can a complete blood-refining formation appear here? Houston immediately became shocked and he saw the formation appear on the ground. Chapter 1241, Blood Servant of the Death Nest. This blood-refining formation can refine the blood, flesh, and essence of people into soul-devouring force, but only those who practice the Empyrean demon arts can absorb soul-devouring force. Even if Saint Emperors come in contact with the soul-devouring force among the fighters of the Tianyuan continent, their souls would be corroded away, yet there's actually a complete version of it in the death nest. Just who cast down this formation? Was it a Saint Emperor who was in possession of the Empyrean demon orb in the past? Houston diligently thought while filled with doubts. No. There's rumors from the ancient times that the strongest human, Mo Tianyun, had collected the corpses of a large number of experts who had fallen in battle and created the death nest. Was the blood-refining formation cast down by Mo Tianyun before? Did he also know the cultivation method in the Empyrean demon orb and practice the Empyrean demon arts, which was why he also knew the blood-refining formation recorded in the Empyrean demon orb? Was he using the blood, flesh, and essence to refine soul-devouring force for his own cultivation? Houston sank into his thoughts, but he shook his head soon after. That can't be possible. According to what I know, the energy used by Mo Tianyun was not soul-devouring force. He would not have practiced the Empyrean demon arts. Soul-devouring force is more detrimental to him than beneficial. Suddenly, Houston became surprised once more. He cried out, "There seems to be another formation hidden within the blood-refining formation." Houston began to carefully observe the hidden formation. All his knowledge regarding formations originated from the Empyrean demon orb. If he did not have this item, he would not have discovered the formations hidden there even as a Saint Emperor. A while later, Houston gasped. He recognized the other formation hidden within the blood-refining formation. It was one of the many formations recorded in the Empyrean demon orb. It was called the Empyrean demon mirage, an extremely great illusory formation. Houston struggled to remain calm after he had discovered two formations recorded within the Empyrean demon orb within the death nest. At this moment, the death nest began to violently shake once more. A large swathe of sticky, red mist churned out from up ahead. Houston's expression immediately changed when he saw the mist because it was soul-devouring force that could be refined through the Empyrean demon arts. The soul-devouring force was several times more powerful than the soul-devouring force he could cultivate himself. Bang! 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 Muffled sounds reverberate through the blood mist. With every sound, the land shook. 100-meter tall, blood-red skeleton was obscured within the mist. It was radiating powerful soul-devouring force from every single bone. The blood-red skeleton even gave off a powerful presence that was enough to cause the world to tremble. This is a blood servant, one that has surpassed Saint Emperor. Houston exclaimed as he stared fixedly at the skeleton. Disbelief was written across his face. At the moment, he suddenly thought of the information he had learned from the Empyrean demon orb regarding blood servants. Blood servants were created with countless remains through the Empyrean demon orb before being nurtured with vile blood and essence. Its strength was equivalent to how long it had existed as well as the bones, vile blood, and essence that had been used to create it. A blood servant was the servant of practitioners of the Empyrean demon arts. There was a secret technique within the Empyrean demon orb to enslave them. They would not betray their masters, and they would follow every single command. They could be used to assist their masters in battle, and the soul-devouring force of the blood servants could be absorbed for cultivation as well. The skeleton did not attack Houston and, instead, stood there blankly. It stared in Houston's direction with its empty eye sockets. It had already sensed an intruder, but the intruder was actually in possession of energy that originated from the same source as it, which was why it did not attack Houston. Houston became extremely stern. Blood servants could not form by themselves. He did not even need to think to know that such a powerful blood servant had appeared here due to some other person and that that person also knew the various secret techniques of the Empyrean demon orb. But fortunately, blood servants would not attack other practitioners of the Empyrean demon arts before they had received orders from their master. Otherwise, even a Saint Emperor would only be able to flee before such a powerful blood servant, and they wouldn't necessarily be able to escape successfully. Houston observed the blood servant and he became stunned, which was soon replaced by ravishing joy. He excitedly said, It's actually a blood servant that hasn't taken on a master." Houston's eyes burned with desire. Without any hesitation, he immediately began to create the blood servant's imprint. The blood servant's imprint was one of the many secret techniques he had learned from the Empyrean demon orb. It was used specifically to enslave blood servants. Within just a few seconds, Houston completed the imprint and sent it out with a wave of his hand. It shot out with lightning-like speed and landed accurately between the eyebrows of the skeleton. However, nothing happened even after quite a while. None of the signs of enslavement recorded in the Empyrean demon orb appeared. Houston became disappointed with this. He gently sighed and said, "I'm far too weak, so I can't subdue a blood servant that surpassed Saint Emperor. Looks like I can only do this in the future. I wonder who has left behind such a powerful blood servant." Houston no longer paid any more attention to the blood servant. It was not like the blood servant would attack practitioners of the Empyrean demon arts by itself, so it would not affect him at all if he remained there. Houston shifted his focus back onto the illusory formation hidden within the blood-refining formation. The illusions were extremely powerful. With Houston's current strength, he could not create them, nor could he destroy them. However, he knew the way in. Houston still ended up entering the formation after hesitating slightly. He followed the method he had learned from the Empyrean demon orbs and made his way through the formation. Houston was extremely cautious. He checked every single step several times and would only take a step after confirming that it was completely correct. He knew that he would end up trapped in the formation if he took a single wrong step, and it would be very difficult for him to escape. After taking several hundred steps, Houston finally passed through the formation. At that moment, he felt his surroundings ripple as the landscape around him suddenly changed. He had already unknowingly arrived in an underground cavern. The cavern was round, around 30 meters across. The entire place was filled with dense soul-devouring force, and a 2-meter-long, square pool sat in the middle of the room. The pool was filled with blood-red liquid, which seemed just like blood. When Houston's gaze fell on the pool of liquid, he immediately became extremely excited. His head began to violently beat in an uncontrollable manner. He could recognize what the liquid was with a single glance. It was soul-devouring force that had condensed into liquid because of the high density of soul-devouring force in the cavern. I understand now. All of the soul-devouring force produced by the blood-refining formation above was actually all stored here. This death nest is basically a holy land made for practitioners of the Empyrean demon arts. Although I'm still uncertain as to who made this place, the soul-devouring force here has already become so dense, and the blood servant up above has not taken on a master either. The expert who created this place must have died if he did not leave. If I cultivate here and absorb the soul-devouring force in the pool, my strength will definitely skyrocket. Whatever. I may have reached Saint Emperor already, but that's only the beginning of the path of cultivation. I'll devote myself to cultivating here over the next few days, Houston murmured before sitting down beside the small pool. He began to practice the Empyrean demon arts. However, what he did not know was that when he had passed through the Empyrean demon mirage and was sent into the cavern by a strand of spatial force, the illusory formation had exploded apart with a boom. In the surroundings, there were even more powerful and even more profound formations that Houston had not discovered. These formations were connected to the Empyrean demon mirage. The explosion of the illusory formation led to the self-destruction of the other formations at the same time. Boom! 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 The formations were very powerful. With a string of violent rumbles, the powerful ripples of energy released from the self-destruction of the formations made the entire death nest violently shake. The formations that had exploded were extremely powerful trapping formations, which actually trapped the origin energy that had disappeared from the Tianyuan continent for countless years. Now that the origin energy was freed, it immediately dispersed into the surroundings, but the entire place was still enveloped by a formation and a barrier, so the energy was unable to break free no matter what. An extremely powerful pulse appeared in the void. Another extremely vast formation appeared out of nowhere. If Jian Chen was present, he would definitely have been able to recognize the formation to be similar to the ancient teleportation formation he had seen in the Divine Hall of the Underworld sect. The only difference was that the formation in the Death Nest was even larger and even more profound than the one in the Underworld sect. At this moment, a violent gust of wind suddenly rose through the Death Nest. It sucked in all the origin energy from everywhere, causing it all to enter the huge formation in the end. The formation immediately began to shine with bright white light as it slowly revolved in the empty air, creating an extremely powerful pulse of energy. However, it was obscured by the barrier and formation outside the Death Nest, such that outsiders could not sense it at all. Everything was connected to the moment Houston passed through the illusory formation into the cavern and to the consecutive explosions and the appearance of the huge formation. As soon as someone passed through the Empyrean demon mirage and was sent into the underground cavern by the spatial force, the other formations would be activated. The illusory formation's self-destruction would activate the trapping formations containing the origin energy, and the origin energy would deactivate the huge teleportation formation in the air. This had all been planned by someone long ago. Chapter 1242, Ning Shuang. The teleportation formation glowed with a brighter and brighter and more dazzling light, before finally turning into a ball of blinding white light. It shone like the sun, completely illuminating all of the Death Nest. If it had been outside, the light from the formation would have been enough to turn night into day. The light was enough to engulf the entire continent, but it could only illuminate the entire Death Nest since it was obstructed by a formation and a barrier. Even if it constantly grew brighter, it was still unable to make it outside the Death Nest. The space within the huge formation pulsed in an extremely unstable manner. It distorted violently as a blurry figure gradually appeared. At the very start, it was only a faint shadow, but it consolidated at a visible rate before turning into the real thing in just a few seconds in the end. The white light from the formation gradually weakened before completely disappearing after a few seconds. The huge teleportation formation disappeared as well, having disappeared into the void again. The death nest also regained its gloominess as vile energies permeated the area and black mist churned, having returned to the way it was before. The only difference was that a person was now present in the air of the death nest. The person hovered there silently. Not only did he give off no presence at all, he did not give off any signs of life. The dense yin-chi and grudges of the dead were unable to affect this person. Looking closely, the vile energies and black mist remained a constant meter away from this person. They were unable to approach the person, or dared not to approach in fact. He was a middle-aged man in white robes. His eyes were profound and his appearance was striking. He seemed to be 40 years of age from his appearance. Although he did not give off any presence, he unwittingly seemed to overlook everything when he glanced around. This was an indifference toward everything. If a person who had visited Mercenary City before saw this man, they would definitely discover that he was exactly the same as the sculpture of Mo Tianyun that stood in the center of the city. The only difference was that the sculpture of Mo Tianyun would give people the feeling that he was a drawn sword, revealing its edge to the world and that the world was beneath him. Meanwhile, the man in the death nest seemed much simpler. The middle-aged man looked around as he slowly gazed over every single part of the world. The familiar landscape had deeply touched his heart with his deep memories, causing his eyes, which were like unfathomable wells, to tremble ever so slightly in an uncontrollable fashion despite showing no emotion after so many years. Even slivers of excitement had appeared in his deep eyes. Suddenly, the man disappeared without any prior signs before silently reappearing in the cavern of soul-devouring force in the next moment. Houston did not sense his appearance at all as he cultivated beside the pool. The middle-aged man arrived in front of Houston and examined him. He frowned slightly. At that moment, a blood-red light suddenly flew out from between Houston's eyebrows. It was a thumb-sized orb, the Empyrean demon orb that Jian Chen had given to Houston. The orb slowly floated to the middle-aged man. Its red light flickered between light and dark as it passed on strands of thought to the middle-aged man. It seemed to be extremely happy. The middle-aged man stared at the Empyrean demon orb and said, "Empyrean demon orb, this person's talent is indeed decent, but it is nowhere near the level of a rare prodigy. Why have you chosen him as Ning Shuang's successor?" The Empyrean demon orb seemed to be able to understand what the man was saying. It trembled slightly and quickly flickered with a red light. It passed on strands of thought and was filled with a feeling of being wronged. It seemed like a little girl who had been bullied. The man became stunned before breaking into laughter. "So you met the Azulate sword spirits of the sword sect of Violet Heavens, the leading sect of the 9 great sects of the Immortals world, and you were personally handed over by their master. Although his talent is lacking, you feared the sword spirits and combined with his close connection to the master of the sword spirits, you chose him as Ning Shuang's successor. That sure has surprised me. I never thought that you'd actually come across Jian Chen while hiding in the Sea Realm and be brought to the Tianyuan continent. The time we agreed on back then just happened to arrive as well, so you brought him here right after becoming a Saint Emperor." The Empyrean demon orb gave off another thought. It already possessed intelligence, but it could not speak. This was the only way it could communicate with others. The middle-aged man slightly furrowed his eyebrows. After a moment of thought, he said, "Your thoughts aren't too bad. Jian Chen's already become the master of the Azulate sword spirits, and he practices the chaotic body, so he'll definitely control the sword sect of Violet Heavens in the future and become a great expert. Meanwhile, the sword sect of Violet Heavens is one of the 9 great sects of the Immortals world. They're extremely powerful, so if you gain a foothold with Jian Chen through Ning Shuang's successor, it'll be a good thing for both Ning Shuang and her sect. However, Jian Chen practices the chaotic body. The resources he needs for cultivation are difficult to provide even for peak-level organizations. It'll be extremely difficult for him to fully mature, and he's in a lower world of the Saints' world. Once he becomes strong enough, he can only go up to the Saints' world and won't be able to return to the Immortals' world. Without the support of large organizations, Jian Chen can only search for his cultivation resources by himself, but Jian Chen's identity in the Saints' world is just far too sensitive. In the battle that year, the immortal exalt of the Sword sect of Violet Heavens slayed 2 Grand Primes with the Azulate swords and heavily injured the Grand Prime of the Ice Goddess Hull. There were countless others below Grand Prime who were felled by the Azulate swords, and the hatred of the Saints' world for him has already reached a bone-deep level. As a result, if Jian Chen's identity becomes publicly known in the Saints' world, it might even draw out a few Grand Primes who have remained hidden. Jian Chen will not be able to escape no matter what when he gets hunted down by Grand Primes. There will only be death for him. But what has surprised me is that Jian Chen is actually on good terms with a person of the Warring Gods. The people of the Warring Gods are born from the world, and they are born for battle. If they become Grand Primes in the future, they are invincible. Even the Nirvanic Immortal Exalt who had reached the limits of Immortal Exalt and was slightly more powerful than the Immortal Exalt of the Sword sect of Violet Heavens was slain by the Grand Prime of the Warring Gods. In the end, the Grand Prime of the Warring Gods was killed by the Grand Exalt of the Sword sect of Violet Heavens when he was heavily injured, yet Jian Chen is actually on good terms with a Warring God despite being the successor of the Sword sect of Violet Heavens right now. This really is unbelievable. The middle-aged man paused after saying that. He then continued, Empyrean Demon Orb, release Ning Shuang's soul. A speck of light, the size of a rice grain, flew out of the Empyrean Demon Orb. It glowed with faint light. This was someone's soul, but it was extremely heavily injured and weak to the point where the person was permanently unconscious. The soul was also near the stage of dispersing at any moment. The middle-aged man's gaze immediately became gentle when he saw the tiny soul. He slowly extended his right hand to carefully wrap the weak soul with a gentle energy. He softly said, Ning Shuang, after several 100,000 years of searching, I've successfully gathered the souls of 999 radiant god kings. I'll use their souls to create a soul-nurturing formation to nurture your soul. A large number of specks of light suddenly surged from the man. There was exactly 999 of them. Every single speck represented the soul of a radiant god king. These souls had all been refined through a special method and were the size of a speck of dust. If it were not for the fact that they all flickered with a faint, white light, it would probably have been impossible to notice them with the naked eye. The souls of the radiant god kings all flew toward Ning Shuang's soul under the man's control. He created a soul-nurturing formation and stuck them close to her soul. Under the effect of the formation, all the energy within the souls began to leak out as strands before being absorbed by Ning Shuang's soul. After completing the soul-nurturing formation, the middle-aged man stared at Ning Shuang's soul with deep emotions. He said, Ning Shuang, I've already arranged everything in the Saints' world. You will awaken soon. The man stared at Ning Shuang's soul for quite a while before allowing the Empyrean Demon Orb to take back her soul. Afterward, he silently disappeared silently while the Empyrean Demon Orb returned to Houston's Sea of Consciousness. The middle-aged man returned to where the death nest was. He looked around at the gloomy place in mixed emotions as he gently sighed, Your purpose has been fulfilled, so there's no more need for you to exist. It's time for you to end. With that, the man extended his finger at the empty air a few times. Immediately, a huge formation hidden within the void appeared and quickly began to revolve. The vile energy and churning mist in the death nest was all sucked into the formation before being converted into strands of pure soul-devouring force, which were then deposited into the pool underground. All the Saint Ruler, Saint King, and Saint Emperor vengeful spirits collapsed one after another, turning into black mist as they were sucked away by the formation. They were also refined into pure strands of soul-devouring force. The middle-aged man left the death nest and silently arrived in Mercenary City, as if he had teleported. He hovered in the air as he looked at the city below. He did not hide himself, but no one discovered his existence. Sigh, Xiaoling is far too lazy. It's been so long and she's only reached returnance. One of the 2 seals I had set down back then has been broken through as well. Looks like the remaining seal won't be able to last much longer either. With that, the middle-aged man's presence expanded. Without alarming Xiaoling, it easily passed through the tunnel deep below Mercenary City and entered the Saint's world. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.